tackles. Touchdown 49ers. They fake it to him. Purdy down the middle, and he's picked by Horn. J.C. Horn. It's 3rd down and 6. Purdy down the middle for Pearsall, and he's picked again by Mike Jackson. 4th possession for the 49ers. Last 2 have ended in interceptions, and here's a fumble, and the Panthers had a shot at it, but it's recovered. Play action. Purdy picked again. 3rd one, 2nd for Horn. And this crowd is starting to get restless. Number 13 on this drive, tossed to McCaffrey. Gets blocking and a touchdown. Little shoulder fake, end zone shot. He's got the rookie touchdown, McMillan, and the Panthers are back in it. Young over the middle and intercepted by Brown for the 2nd time.
All right, a Tuesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Michael Darcy heading up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, a lot of stuff we'll get into today. We will talk some NFL football, some college football, college basketball along the way, and then whatever else comes up as we hang out with you on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Coming up 2:30, KU taking on Syracuse as the Orange and the Jayhawks get ready for game number 2 of the Players Era Tournament. The pregame will be on ESPN Kansas City starting at 1 o'clock. We will join that pregame at 2 o'clock right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. NFL in action last night, wrapping up, week 12 of the NFL season. The 49ers taking care of the Panthers. And you know what? I said my best yesterday was that, the family got a new puppy. And thankfully they did, because they didn't have to watch that game. We were hanging out with the dog. My goodness. Woo, what a fun one last night. What a fun one. But luckily did not care about that. Unless you had fantasy football or a betting interest, or you're a 49er or a Panther fan, really no reason to watch that one. So glad there was a lot of college basketball on yesterday, and a lot of college basketball on today as well. We will talk with Braden Gall coming up at 11 o'clock, 440 Sports Podcast Network, ESPN Radio, Athlon Sports. He is our college football insider. Get his thoughts on the games coming up this weekend as KU and K-State vying for bowl eligibility. Mizzou trying to get to 8 wins with a win against Arkansas, 2.5-point favorites on the road there at Arkansas on Saturday. KU, Iowa State on Friday. That line has moved 2 points towards Kansas, by the way. It's 13.5, now 11.5. Big money, feeling like KU can cover the 2 touchdowns.
Not happening.
Not winning, just cover the 2 touchdowns. That's all.
Again, not happening.
You think Iowa State by more than 11.5?
Utah?
Yes, sorry. Yes, Utah. You think that by more than... No, it's 17.5. My apologies. So I got it mixed up. I'll get it right eventually. I keep flipping it on my format, and so I just look down and I see the line, and it's under KU, and I'm like, no, that's not the case.
Utah's a wagon, and I cannot see the Jayhawks
Utah 11.5.
that.
Utah, they're 11.5-point dogs against Utah at home. They were 13.5-point dogs at home. Now they're 11.5. K-State is 17.5-point favorites over Colorado. I got it right that time. Just go ahead and mark that out. Here we go. Boom. There we go. Got it. But that will be right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB on Friday. But interesting that line has moved a couple of points towards KU at home. Maybe it's desperation. Does Utah feel like their final test was done by taking care of Kansas State in that comeback win? If Utah loses by 10 to K-State, is that what Vegas is looking at and going, well, that Utah crazy comeback happened. Maybe that 12 men on the field penalty doesn't happen. K-State wins that game. There were some oddities in that particular one. I know why Wildcat fans were leaving that game like Mark Mangino against Texas. That's right, dollar signs. Certainly felt that way in that one. But if K-State takes care of business, I don't know. Maybe that's the line that you would have looked at. And the Utah up to 13.5 was based on them coming back and winning and putting 51 on K-State. The total in this game is 60. Utah scored 51 on K-State. I don't know. I love the over, but sometimes when it feels like, that seems too obvious.
As in, Utah's going to score 55 and KU's going to score 10.
Well, that was the thing last week about Notre Dame and Syracuse. I was like, why is the line only 50? Like, I was all over Notre Dame and Syracuse. I was a little too worried before that game because I'm like, this seems so easy. And every time it seems easy, like, you get thrown for a loop. But Notre Dame went out there and covered the spread by themselves, by 20. That thing was 50. They scored 70 by themselves. I ain't saying that's going to happen this weekend, although if defense and special teams get you 3 touchdowns for Utah, I think that might be the case. But, I mean, in theory, this should be a game that has some fireworks, that has some points scored. We'll see. We'll find out. We'll talk with Braden Gall about those 3 games. KU, I think it's interesting sort of going through who's got the biggest game. I don't think it's K-State because I think they're going to take care of business against Colorado. It's a home game, bowl eligibility on the line. I think K-State's going to handle business. I think they're going to respond. Kleiman's emotional speech after the game, him showing he's got the players back, the players fighting. They'll take care of Colorado. Probably minus the points. And that has been bet up towards K-State, by the way. It was 17, now it's 17.5. But Mizzou and Arkansas, in a year that Missouri fans have felt like there's been this disappointment that these 4 losses have come, and there have been opportunities in every one of those games to win or make it a better chance at the end to win, and they haven't come through in those games. They've come through in a couple of games. Obviously, they beat Auburn. But if you end this season that you have playoff hopes, playoff aspirations, and a schedule that clearly breaks in your favor, a defense that is playoff worthy, a running back that's one of the best in America, an offensive line that is one of the best outside zone blocking offensive lines in the run scheme that they have. And if you go through that season where the schedule breaks in your favor and you're undefeated in conference play or non-conference play, and you end up 7-5, that's a massive disappointment. You know, we talked on Sunday Sound Off. Mick Schaefer asked the panel which team, local college team, is the most disappointing. And I went with K-State. Currently, I don't think K-State's going to lose to Colorado. They're going to take care of business. They're going to get to 6 wins. They're going to be 5-4 in conference play. The disappointing part for K-State is the 2 losses in non-conference. Because if they find themselves undefeated in non-conference, then, you know, you're talking about add 3 more wins. Add, 20% from a year ago. Back-to-back days I've used that line from Christmas vacation. But if Missouri loses to Arkansas, they leapfrog, and they become the most disappointing team of the local teams. I didn't go with Kansas because I thought Kansas would be good. In fact, I think I had them at 8 or 9 wins, so they are clearly below what I thought they would be if they end up with only 5 wins, which is what it's looking like that's going to be reality. But from playoff aspirations for Mizzou and Kansas State, like I thought Kansas State could win the Big 12, and sitting 10th in the Big 12 is a far cry. And how those games happened, the Baylor loss, the Arizona loss, I know that wasn't conference play, non-conference, the Iowa State loss, Utah's loss. Like so many of these, you're going, oh my God, how do you not find a way to win that one? Big play here or there. Big play that's not made by Kansas State here or there, opportunities. But if Eli Drinkwitz comes away this season 7-5, in a year in which there's the flirting with other teams going on, I think that's going to be a pretty massive disappointment. Now, in the long run, it may not be terrible for Mizzou if other teams go, maybe we're a little cold on Eli now. Maybe we're not as hot on Eli since he's 7-5, and look how they finished down the stretch. This team was rolling along, and they have the wheels falling off. Losing all of those games at the end of the season, Bama, Vandy, A&M, Oklahoma, Arkansas, mix in an Auburn and a Mississippi State there, and you're like 3-5 in conference play when the schedule broke in your favor? Is that the guy you want to hire at Florida or Auburn or LSU or Penn State? I don't know. We'll talk with Braden Gall about that, how much a win or a loss here or there can impact a school and an athletic department hiring a potential coach. Because so many ADs care about the press conference. Way too much. They care way too much about the press conference. You got to win the press conference. You know what you got to do? You got to win games. If you win the press conference and lose games, you will lose your job. If you lose the press conference and win games, you're a genius. But we know that fans and having an uproar and unrest in the fan base can spur action. Greg Schiano was hired at Tennessee until he wasn't. Volunteer fans went nuts, and they move on from Greg Schiano. I don't know that that'll be the case at any of these schools, but if Eli loses to Arkansas and then Penn State hires him, I think there are going to be some pretty upset feelings, and Florida as well. If they take care of Arkansas, they sit 8-4. It's back-to-back double-digit win seasons followed by 8-4, and you go, man, the disappointing season for Mizzou is 8 wins? Into the Pinkel era, middle there, moving on to Eli, and now if the disappointing year is 8-4 with a dominant defense, and it's like, man, you just didn't have the quarterback you thought you had. You went in the portal and you missed out on some guys. And by the way, Mason Miller or Mason Moss, Miller Moss, whatever his damn name is, from USC that's at Louisville that got benched. That was a guy that Missouri fans were like, oh, man, they missed out on him. He went to Louisville. He ain't the quarterback anymore. So it ain't always the easiest to go into the transfer portal and find the quarterback that's going to be the difference maker. Mendoza seems to be that guy for Indiana, but that's where the Matt Zollers and Olugbade, guys like that come into play by keeping them around if you develop said players. So we'll talk with Braden Gall coming up at 11 o'clock. We'll hang out with Myron Metcalf at 1 o'clock. He is there in Vegas at the Players Era tournament going on currently. Big day for the Big 12 yesterday, 4-0 in the Players Era. 4 more games today. They're favored in 3 of them. And then we'll see who they play tomorrow or Thursday. And we'll see about KU, who they play tomorrow or Thursday. I want to get into the big news that took place yesterday that I think could change the landscape of how we watch basketball in November. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. But let's start off with the Kansas Jayhawks taking care of Notre Dame. They get set for Syracuse today. There had to be some nervous feelings at about 2:37. Trying to think of when it took place when Flory got benched. Gets taken out of the game before the first TV timeout. 16:30 left to go in the first half. And Flory comes out, and he ain't in it. Like, head's not in it. He's giving up defensive buckets. Not strong. Getting blocked. It's like, dude, you are so much better than what you're playing like right now. Like, you cannot go up against Notre Dame and play like that. And maybe there's I don't want to say the light's too bright to start that game. But, I mean, you're coming off his performance in which, he has 14 points against Duke, and I thought he played well in that game. And now you get ready for Notre Dame, and I wonder, you go from Champions Classic to that. Vegas is filled with NBA scouts everywhere. It is the hub of NBA scouting right now, is Vegas, for the Players Era tournament. And I do wonder, a guy that wants to be a lottery pick, if you go out there and you're looking around and all you see in press row are NBA scouts everywhere, that could be pretty intimidating. Now, a lot of these schools have their practices before the season starts where they have NBA scouts come in, so it shouldn't be all that much of a surprise. I'm not saying that was the case. But I know when the game is over, many more scouts liking what they saw than the first 3.5 minutes of the game. Let's hear from Bill Self. he was asked about Flory last night and saying, did you take him out of the game to teach him a lesson or to try to get through to him in some way when he gets benched early in the game?
Well, I wasn't very happy with him. You know, I thought his first 3 or 4 possessions was bad energy. So, yeah, I don't know that I did anything to challenge him, but hopefully he gave himself a do-better talk, and he was pretty effective when he got back in there.
Now, look, I don't know if it's a challenge, Flory. You know, I'm taking you out to challenge you, or I'm taking you out because you aren't good right now. I mean, I think you can have those. You can have a guy you take out of the game to challenge him, to send a message early on. I think that was the Princeton game. I think that was, I'm putting guys in early to send a message. I'm putting Wilder in the game 2.5 minutes into the game. We ain't winning by 30. Rock Chalk Chant ain't going on and Wilder's in the game. There's 2.5 minutes into the game we're putting him in. That's a lesson to what's going on the floor right now, to everybody sleepwalking through this. I am challenging you guys. Get your ass on the bench, and you'll stay here until I want you to go back in. And if you look like that again, you'll come back over here. So if you want to play, get in the damn game. It may not have been a challenge like that to Flory, but it had to be a wake-up call to Flory when he's not in foul trouble and he comes out of the game that quick. Bill Self essentially saying, that's not good enough, dude. For this team to play and win a couple of games in Vegas, Flory can't be a no-show. And he was early on. But, man, when he got put back in, he was absolutely dominant. So if it wasn't a challenge, hey, that's fine. If it was, that's fine too. But Flory was fantastic yesterday. 18 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 blocks. That was a stat-stuffing game. And like I said, I bet NBA scouts came away, first 3.5 minutes going, what's going on with this guy? He showed flashes against Duke. He's got the athleticism. He's a rim runner. He can do some different things. He attacks angles. His athleticism is off the charts. He can defend. We saw some of those things in Duke, and this Notre Dame team should be overmatched by him. Why is he sleepwalking right now? And I'll tell you what, man, he got woken up. It was the Undertaker rising out of the coffin. He got woken up, and he was the best player on the floor. I'm not sure it was relatively close all around. Again, almost a double-double with 18 and 9, and then also throwing in 5 assists and 5 blocks.
Well, without Darren Peterson on the floor, you need Flory to step up and be more of a scorer. And it's almost, at times, he's very timid. He doesn't want to try to shoot the ball. And you saw in that second half, he was like, okay, I kind of have to take over, because he is the best player on the floor if Darren Peterson's not out there. Mm-hmm. And you saw it in the second half.
Yep. I think also what we saw, there may have been a breakout game to a degree for KU in a guy that I think could be a huge key for the team this year. And that was what Bryson Tiller did. And it's, one of the things that gets you excited about Bryson Tiller is, he knocks down 4 threes against North Carolina. And you're like, okay, this guy's 6'11", 240, is hitting threes. Nice. Duke, he goes 0 for 3. Notre Dame, he's 0 for 5. But what he was last night was one of the most dominant players in the paint. He was 8 out of 10 in the paint last night, inside the arc. 17 points he scores, and none of them came from behind the arc, when so many of his points were coming from behind the arc. Every one of his points against North Carolina came from behind the arc. Half his points against Princeton came from behind the arc. A third of his points against Corpus Christi came from behind the arc. Half his points against Green Bay came from behind the arc. And now he scored 23 in back-to-back games with 0 points coming from 3. That's where Bryson Tiller can make a difference. You're 6'11", 240. You're not 6'10", 210. You are a big dude. Start acting like it. Because if he shows that, well, then now you've already got the outside game that you're confident with. Even with the 0 for 8 the last 2 games, he's still shooting 37% from behind the arc. I mean, still pretty phenomenal. And you heard Notre Dame's head coach, Shrewsbury. Man, I just want to call him Mike Bray. You know, Notre Dame's head coach, Mike Bray. It's Micah something. Parsons. Michael Parsons. He's not getting as much glory hole as the Cowboys are looking for on Thursday. But Micah Shrewsbury, like in his post-game commentary, he said, you know, what did he say? In his post-game commentary, do we have that clip, Mike? Nope, that's not what I was looking for. He said that Bryson Tiller was one of the more dominant players in the game, and they couldn't stop him in the paint. And I think Bill Self said something along the lines of, well, can he tell that to Bryson? I love that he said that. Please tell Bryson that, because he needs to realize what kind of player he is, which is true. So when you hear that from another coach going, well, that guy we couldn't stop in the paint. So that was a huge development. Those guys combined 35 points, 18 rebounds, 7 assists, and 6 blocks on the day. Melvin Council with a couple of big back-to-back threes. A 5-point game turns into a 6-point game. I'll tell you this much. He ain't afraid. Melvin Council ain't afraid to take some big shots. He was 0 for 4 from behind the arc when he took those back-to-back threes. And he was like, bleep it, man. And by the way, he had just missed his previous 2 threes. Melvin Council took 4 straight shot attempts for KU. 3-point miss, 3-point miss, 3-point make, 25-point 3-point make. Like, dude is not afraid. Even when he's 0 for 2, he's not shy. Good thing, bad thing, I think we'll find out as the season goes along if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But also, without Darren Peterson, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to play the alpha. Trey White gets his nose blown up. You know, somebody's got to be the alpha there. Flory's doing his thing. Bryson Tiller's doing his thing. So interested to see what they look like against Syracuse today. Not sure what they'll look like, but a good win for KU yesterday. On the other side of the break, I want to talk about one of the bigger developments that we've seen in college basketball in a long time. So much of college basketball, fans talk about, wake me up in March. The regular season doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the tournament. March Madness, that's it. Well, what took place yesterday in the announcement that was made with the Players Era Tournament in the Big 12, I think is a landmark shift in what preseason, or what used to be known as preseason, but non-conference tournaments will look like moving forward. And it could signal the death of Maui and Charleston and Atlantis, the ESPN events tournament that's going on that, you know, at one point was like, ooh, this is cool. We'll talk about what that means and what it means for the Big 12. The Big 12 and the Players Era dipped into the college football bowl bag and did something that nobody has done yet, and I think will become more and more of what we see happen. I think it was a big deal for the Big 12 yesterday. We'll talk about what that means coming up next. A lot of college football we'll talk about with Braden Gall coming up at 11 o'clock. Heavy Chiefs today with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, Matt Nagy, Chris Jones. We'll see if they send anybody else to the podium at 11:45. That sounds like that'll go until 3. But we'll see when that ends. And then Myron Metcalf will join us at 1 o'clock from ESPN. He is live in Vegas where the Players Era tournament is going on. And yesterday was a pretty big announcement that, we talked tons of Chiefs yesterday, so we never got around to it. We talk a lot of college sports on Tuesday. That's why we have Braden and Myron on Tuesday. We get into some of the college stuff, and it's, especially during college football, makes it easier to get into college stuff on Tuesday when we spend so much on a Monday talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. Yesterday, the Players Era announced a partnership with the Big 12 in which they will pay the Big 12 over the next 5 years $50 million. A 5-year, $50 million contract partnership with the Big 12, and the Big 12 will send 8 teams to the Players Era tournament every year. They're expanding to 32 next year. So they already have 25% of the field moving forward. They're going to stay at 32. It's not going to be 64 and all that stuff. 32 teams. Starting next year, the Players Era tournament, which was 8 teams last year, 18 this year, 32 next year over 3 weeks. It's a 3-week event next year. There's going to be 4 different 8-team pods. So 8 teams in 4 different pods. It's going to be World Cup style. There's going to be the pool play. And then the champion from each pool will go to the quote-unquote champions tournament where they will play that 2-game tournament with those 4 teams. What separates the Players Era that we talked about from what we've seen in different tournaments is the Players Era is simply writing checks to the schools that participate in this thing. When they win or advance to a certain number, they pay the schools the money. They also pay the players directly for those certain players that do NIL things in Vegas. So there are some players that will do some media stuff in Vegas for a certain company. We've seen at the Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl, somebody comes along and it's like, this is, remember Solomon Wilcots that was walking around with a doctor that had some sort of a new heart monitor, and he was paid by this dude. I remember, was it Ronnie Lott that was Haas Avocados at the Super Bowl? But it's always like, all right, we got this person here, and you're teaming up with this, right? And then they talk a little bit, and then we get into what we want to talk about. So we have them on to discuss those things, but they also want their sponsorship to get a little love. And in the Players Era tournament, moving forward, there will be more of those that will be pre-cleared through the new NCAA NIL rules. Because, you've got the pool that you can, or revenue sharing of $20 million that you can split with, but then you also can have direct NIL money to players. That has to be cleared. Well, what the Players Era has done is pre-cleared these things for certain players. That'll do social media content and things like that while they're there. This is added on what you can already pay them in the offseason or when they're playing for your team, however much you're getting paid. And this is where it's changing moving forward. And I wonder if any other tournament will go this route or if it's too late for somebody to have this idea. Because there's a lot of skepticism in the college basketball community about whether this is viable moving forward. Can you pay this money? There were teams last year that questioned whether or not they would get payment. Hold on, you're going to pay us $1 million right after the tournament's over? Yes. Hold on, we advanced to the championship, you're going to pay us another $100,000? Yes. The day after the tournament was over, those schools had that money. The guy that started the Players Era is the guy who started And One. He's not an idiot. He's not some random dude. He started And One and then sold it for millions and millions in 2005. He was selling T-shirts out of his car. And One T-shirts out of his car, and then it became the And One Tour. So this isn't some guy that doesn't know what he's doing in terms of marketing. And yesterday's announcement of the deal with the Big 12, for years and years and years, it has been just something we've accepted in college sports, that this conference is aligned with this bowl. Big 12 goes to the Orange Bowl. SEC goes to the Sugar Bowl. Pac-12 and the Big 10, they go to the Rose Bowl. Like, that's just been understood, right? And we've never really questioned it. It's always like, okay, which bowl are you going to? Well, we're going to figure out these bowls because this bowl takes the number 3 Big 12 team, and this bowl takes the number 5 Big 12 team. And then these bowl coordinators, they can pick and choose, and these bowls are connected to different conferences. And that was a big deal back then. When realignment was going on in the early 2010s and the Big 12 was talked about dissolving, Mizzou, Nebraska, Colorado, A&M, they all leave. The ACC's trying to grab some teams. The Pac-12's trying to come in and kill the Big 12. And the Big 12 was running into issues with their bowl sponsorships. And the ACC commissioner at the time, when asked about the Big 12 and teams like that, his line was, well, they better figure out and get themselves a bowl. It was like, Big 12 doesn't have a bowl. They're done. It was that big of a deal to be aligned with a bowl game that conference commissioners were saying, you better get yourself aligned with a bowl or you're done. That's not what this is. But for the first time ever, we have seen a tournament that is aligning specifically with a conference to fill their teams, that 25% of the teams are going to be filled with the Big 12. And by the way, at least 25%. Because KU already has a contract with the Big 12 or with the Players Era for the next 6 years. Houston has a lifetime contract with the Players Era. As long as Kelvin Sampson or Kellen Sampson are coaching Houston, they have a in perpetuity invite. Baylor has a contract with the Players Era. Iowa State has a contract with the Players Era moving forward. And for the next 5 years, the top 8 finishers in the Big 12 standings the previous year will go to the Players Era that next year. Meaning, if Iowa State or Baylor or Houston or KU finish outside the top 8, then the Big 12 will have even more teams, which is more money than that will go to the conference for their collectives or revenue sharing or direct NIL payments, which, by the way, can then help when you say, hey, we'll pay you. This is your NIL package. If you come, let's say, Kansas, for instance, or K-State. Because if K-State finishes in the top 8 this year, the Big 12 standings, they're in the Players Era next year. It's $1 million. They're there. They're in the Players Era. Jerome Tang, here's some more money. That's a player. That's a good player in the the transfer portal. So K-State finishing in the top 8, there is more of a carrot that's there than just, hey, you want to go to the tournament, obviously. That's the biggest one, is what happens this year. But in long term, for the health of your program, all the extra money you can get, that's great. But like if KU or whoever finishes outside of the top 8, then they're going to get more teams. But if you're Kansas or Kansas State and you're going and you're dealing with an NIL with a certain player or revenue sharing with a player and trying to attract them to your school, you also now throw in the, hey, and we're going to be in Vegas and you're going to be one of our NIL representatives that's going to make NIL money in Vegas. Extra money on top of what we're paying you. You're going to have the media opportunities there in Vegas in the preseason tournament, in the Players Era. They're going to pay you directly. That doesn't come through Kansas. It comes directly from the Players Era, in which they've already pre-cleared with the NCAA and the new CSC and whatever that thing is. And I think this is a game changer, because do other conferences try to then align themselves with the Players Era? Do they find a tournament that can maybe mirror what this marketing strategy is, what this tournament is? Because they're attracting the best teams. And you know why? Because they're paying them NIL money. It's not just, we're attracting the best teams because the field in Maui is amazing and you get to go to Maui. And it's a fun experience playing in the small gym, and it's really cool, and everybody wears their Hawaiian shirts, and it's fun, and everybody cramps up because it's so hot in there. It's a really cool environment, and the field is amazing. Battle for Atlantis. Oh, they take care of you. Oh, my God, the players are so taken care of at Battle for Atlantis. It is a gift to go there. Oh, my goodness. The field is good. Well, now you're getting taken care of money-wise, not just amenities. Oh, the food, the hotels in Atlantis. Oh, it's brilliant. Maui. Oh, you get to go on all these trips there in Hawaii. You get to go to these sightseeing things, and it's so cool. You get time on the beach. It's great. Or you go to Vegas and you get money directly in your pocket. I don't know, man. That hotel room in the Atlantis is just a touch nicer than the one in Vegas, because Vegas has terrible hotel rooms. Terrible food. Terrible amenities in Vegas.
They're known for it.
They're known for nobody enjoying themselves and having really dumpy hotels when you're talking about millions and millions and millions, hundreds of millions over the next 5 years, since they're giving the Big 12 50 of them. They've already announced that they are close to a contract TV rights deal. This is where this comes into play too. This isn't just, oh, ESPN has all these different games. These games are on TNT and True TV. And because they own this preseason tournament and they have teams going there, it's outside the purview of, like, ESPN has this many games and all the CBS and all of that. They can sell it to the highest bidder for this 32-team 3-week event starting next year with the best teams in America in non-conference games to attract eyeballs in November when people don't care about the college basketball as much. And we go, why are you playing these Institute of No Thumbs? Like, you're going to win this game by 100. Well, it's a pay game. You're paying those teams to come in and get some wins. Players Era is paying you. And I think this is a huge shift in what the unknown waters are going to be moving forward, and the Big 12 being on the forefront of that. Because the reports are other conferences were in communication with the Players Era, and they decided not to get into a partnership. And Brett Yormark said, get out of the way. We'll do it. We're going to get $10 million a year minimum over the next 5 years. Plus, we can get extra schools in there, plus the NIL going directly to the schools. I'm not sure why conferences would turn that down. Now, Kentucky and Mark Pope have come out and said they cannot pay us enough for us to lose those 3 games at home. Those 3 games that we play in, we make $5 million. That's what Mark Pope said. Mark Pope said they can make $5 million in the 3 games that they would give up to play in the Players Era tournament. I don't know if that's true. That seems a lot. But that's what they have said. I don't know why Missouri's not in it. Missouri was in negotiations to be a part of the 2026 field. That didn't work out. Whether that was the Players Era saying, sorry, we got another school that we're going to give the same deal to, and we think it's a more of a brand. Or they weren't offering Missouri enough money to join the Players Era to make it worth Dennis Gates' while. I don't know. I don't know what the behind the scenes are as to why Missouri was talking with the Players Era for next year and then they bowed out. Or the Players Era about it. Either way, talks broke down. Missouri's not in the tournament next year. Every team that's in the tournament this year is offered right of first refusal for next year. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But I think this was such a huge announcement yesterday for college basketball because it may change the way we watch college basketball in November if we're talking about an actual tournament like this. World Cup style play. Whatever your pod is, you play these other games, and then the winner of that pod goes and plays the 4-team tournament, and each of those teams that win the pod get an extra $1 million. I mean, TBT, the basketball tournament. You're talking about, oh, this is so fun to watch these older players from these schools make all this, play and get $1 million if they win. These schools now are not just playing for non-conference resume. You win your pod, you get $1 million for your NIL, for your collective. Just boom, immediately. Even if you don't win that 4-team tournament, boom, $1 million. That's why teams want to be involved in this moving forward, and they are going to attract the highest brand teams. And I don't know what the future of Maui is, or Atlantis, or the ESPN events, or Charleston, but I know the future better involve, if you're going to attract teams, the money better be there for them in an NIL form, in a collective form. Because that's the future. That is how we are navigating these waters now. And the Players era was the first one to strike on that. And again, the dude ain't dumb. He started and won. They worked at a $500,000 deficit last year. They are already profitable this year. And that's before they have their media rights deal that they're going to announce at some point. I don't know that there's another tournament that can do this, because typically first to the market is the one that gets the most money. We'll see. Good on the Big 12, because we may see Kansas and Kansas State in the Players era moving forward. And all that does is help those schools get more money for their NIL to go and attract more players. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. I'm not sure if you know about the 3 T's of Thanksgiving: turkey for eating, table for gathering, touchdowns for winning. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown can bring you closer to cashing in. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, all the action is in your hands. First touchdown scores, anytime touchdowns, live bets, every play, every snap, every game counts. And here's the best part: new customers bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. When touchdowns happen, we feast. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 810WHB. That's code 810WHB. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, Kansas only. Eligibility and restrictions apply. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
The one thing that's going to be interesting is how the Players' Era does affect non-conference scheduling, because now you're going to be guaranteed those 3 games, but you also might get an extra game, and if you only have the 31 games that you can have in the season, then you'd have to cancel another game if you get the extra game in the Players' Era, or have to scramble to find another game if you don't get that extra game in the Players' Era. Yesterday, Bill Self was asked after the Notre Dame game about if he's given much thought to his contract with the Players' Era, the Big 12's partnership with the Players' Era, and how that will affect non-conference scheduling for Kansas, a team that has a loaded non-con this year.
I haven't given it that much thought, Myron. But the reality of it is, for us, you got champions, you got a good home and home, you got a good away, home and home, you got Missouri on a neutral site. To me, after that, this is plenty. Have you studied our schedule this year? I mean, wow. And then we're not full strength to play that. That may be too much in one semester when you have so many new guys in November and December. Really an advantage to some older teams. Even last year, if you looked at our team, and we played Duke early out here, our team had the advantage over Duke because they were playing with all freshmen and we were playing with older guys, and we played lights out great. And then they kept growing, and we hit the wall and didn't. But I think anything more than that is overscheduling at this point in time.
Yeah, their schedule is ridiculous. Non-conference this year. Like, they're playing the ACC this year. We've got Duke, North Carolina, NC State, Notre Dame yesterday, Syracuse today. If they don't win the Big 12, at least they can. Well, they're 0-2 against, or 1-2 against the ACC. That's rough. It's going to be tough to win the ACC with already 2 quick losses in the conference. Still undefeated in the Big 12. And by the way, the Big 12 has had a huge non-conference. Remember last year the conversation was about the SEC and how amazing they were in non-conference, and it boosted their entire profile of their conference? If you haven't noticed, the Big 12 is 75-14 in the non-conference so far. That was the SEC last year when everybody's like, oh my God, this SEC conference is amazing. It's the Big 12 now. Braden Gall next.
It's time to catch up with our college football insider, Braden Gall.
Nobody cares.
Now in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Everyone has their own taste, and mine is just better.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We're talking with Braden Gall, 440 Sports Podcast, Athlon Sports, ESPN Radio. Don't forget, coming up later on this hour, we'll hear from the Kansas City Chiefs, and pretty much all of them, it feels like, that we'll hear from the Kansas City Chiefs, because it will be Andy Reid. It'll be Patrick Mahomes. We will hear from all three coordinators, which, when we say all three phases of the game, we must then say offense, defense, special teams, because all three phases, because if you don't say that, people don't know what three phases are. Is it offense? Is it defense? Is it, a phaser type gun laser thing? What's the third phase? Offense, defense, special teams. That's what it is. But it'll be Dave Tobe, and it'll be Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy and Chris Jones. And then we'll see whoever else is going to show up at the podium today. So we'll do that coming up later on this hour. And then we'll talk with Myron Metcalf at 1 o'clock, who is hanging out in Vegas for the Players Era tournament going on today. KU in action at 2:30 and pregame at 1 o'clock. That's going to be on ESPN Kansas City. Just a heads up, 1 o'clock pregame on ESPN Kansas City. We will join that at 2 o'clock today once we are done. Right here on this Tuesday edition. 913-912-4810 is the text line. By the way, before we bring on Braden, we were talking earlier about Mizzou and Eli and this game against Arkansas. Wanted to read this text because I think it's a good one. It says, until Eli or his staff proves they can develop a quarterback, he'll not be an elite coach. I don't want to lose him yet, but I think that's where a lot of people stand. Like, there might be some bitter feelings of people like, oh, you lost Oklahoma, you went for the field goal instead of going for it on fourth down. It's a loser mentality. And I was pretty frustrated with that, too. But, he can leave. It's the quick response, people that are emotional. And I've always said, right after a game is over, I allow the grace of fans. I'll allow it. Not that it matters. Nobody cares. But I'll give more grace to fans that are immediately emotional, irrational after a loss, and then sort of calm down after that. So in the middle of the emotions, get him out of here, fire him. Fire Andy Reid. I'm done with him. You know what? Patrick Mahomes, he's toast. He's done. He has lost it. I'm not sure who this guy is anymore. I see 15, but I don't think that's the 15 that has always been there. I'm not sure who that number 15 is. Maybe you just bench him? It's like people, so I don't know if that's actually been said, but people have lose their mind sometimes. But I think that's where probably most people are, of like, you got to develop a quarterback, and until he does, you're not going to take that next step at Mizzou. But that doesn't necessarily mean you want him gone and to take a chance on another coach. So those don't have to be mutually exclusive thoughts around the whole thing. And I think the same thing, like I wanted the same thing with Eli, with Chris Kleiman, and the same thing with Lance Leipold. It's like, is the next step going to be taken? Doesn't mean you're ready to move on from current coach. Do we have Braden? You want to check in?
Yeah.
All right. All right, let's do it. Braden Gall is with us, 440 Sports Podcast, Athlon Sports, ESPN Radio. Michael said, hey, stall for a couple of minutes. And I'm like, dude, just let me go.
To your monologue.
Just let me go.
Monologue.
Braden, Michael teased me a couple of weeks ago because he said we were getting ready to go to break, and he goes, oh, no, the computer froze. Keep going. I'm like, all right, here we go. And he's like, oh, we're back. Go to break. Son of a!
Look,
you can't put the carrot in front of me and take it away.
I only give you a hard time because I am identical, and when I do, big national radio work like I did this past weekend, I've got to remind myself, cut it in half, cut it in half again.
Yep.
And that's why I own a podcast network.
That's exactly right.
Go and go and go and go and go. And my wife wonders, she's like, man, you can just. talk a dog off a meat truck, man. And I'm like, yeah. And I just figured out how to monetize it. So it's all good.
Right. Well, you talk so much at work. Why don't you say anything at home, Jason? Because I'm all talked out. Okay.
Do you want my opinion, or do you want to be validated? Which one do you want?
Those don't always align. I'm just letting you know right now.
Nope.
Yes, honey.
Nope, they don't.
Yes, you don't want to offer more? Yes, honey. That's no. You know what?
This feels like a trick question.
If that's what you're thinking, I'm good with it. Totally good with it. I'm not good with it, but totally good with it. Okay. Braden Gall is our guest. 440 Sports Podcast, Athlon Sports, ESPN Radio. We'll get the Mizzou one out of the way quickly because that text that came in, and I think that's the sentiment. I think people immediately after the game is over were pretty frustrated. I don't think he should have gone for the field goal on 4th and 3 when you're up 3-0 at that point, because then the blocked field goal and an 80-yard touchdown, and hey, look, you're down after feeling like you dominated that thing. But they're also in a position to where they don't trust their quarterback. They haven't really trusted their quarterback all year. Hopefully Matt Zollers will improve. Eli Drinkwitz saying last week that they're going to pay Zollers and Olugbade. Those guys are going to return. But the future of Eli Drinkwitz, does an athletic department, Braden, care if a coach loses the last couple of games and sits 7-5 instead of 8-4 if they're going to hire that guy? Or it's like, we've decided this guy's good enough and 1 or 2 games is not going to change what we think of him as a coach?
No. If you're going to pay a guy $8 or $9 or $10 million, one football game should not matter at all. I think I find the Kiffin news really interesting, the contract offer, because like I was leaning Florida, and I thought Eli. This gets to Eli, but I think Eli is a fit at Florida. I think you can sell it. I think you can take the risk on him. I think he's done the things like to kind of prove, but I don't think LSU hires him at all. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're interested. And so I think what Kiffin decides could change a lot of futures, right? If he takes the LSU job, which again, I don't think he is. Florida's not offering $14 million, but they're probably offering 10, 11, 12. And so it still probably comes down to where do you want to, like, where do you want to be? So if he takes my point is, if he takes the LSU job, I think there's Florida has a lot more options. They can do a little bit more. They can be a little bit more creative, and I think Eli's a main candidate there. I don't think he's a candidate at LSU. So if Kiffin goes to Florida, I think Eli Drinkwitz is clearly the coach at Missouri, mm-hmm. right? And so I still think he probably is the coach at Missouri either way. But if you're talking percentages,
yeah.
I think there's a better percent chance that he's, if Kiffin goes to LSU, I think there's a greater percent chance that he leaves. So I don't think it matters. One game, one loss. I kind of caught that game a little bit later. Like I got into it right. Like I popped it on. I want to say right before the long touchdown pass, where I think Missouri still had the lead.
Oh, it's your fault then. Yeah, they were up 3-0. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's basically my fault. I tuned in for the previous possession, which I think is the one you're talking about, where Missouri has the ball kind of in scoring territory.
4th and 3, and they kicked the field goal.
Yeah. So I kind of got there. Well, probably also my fault then, because that wasn't a great play either. But I tuned in, and I was like, oh, okay. I was interested to see what Missouri was doing to make it the game, right? To make the game even and where they were at and playing well, et cetera, and it ends up being like after that, those next couple of possessions, there was no that's all on Missouri's defense there. Like they had that 3 receiver bunch set to the left, and they just ran a simple scheme against man coverage, and nobody was there to make the play. And so you can complain about the 4th down all you want to, or the field goal, or whatever. You can complain about all that stuff you want to, but you still got to go make plays after that, and they did not.
Yep.
And so I give them credit for how they played, but after that sequence certainly is what changed the course of the game, obviously.
It's not a great season when we have a discussion of, hey, who's the most disappointing local football team? Is it K-State or KU, or is it Mizzou? And, you could get 3 answers from 3 different people on who the most disappointing team is. And I think that can change on Saturday, actually. For me, I chose K-State that I thought was the most disappointing, because I thought they were one of the better teams in the Big 12. The Iowa State loss hurts. That Baylor crazy loss hurts. Arizona was a non-conference game, but losing that one close. Utah over the weekend, that close loss. It's like Dylan Edwards not playing and then transferring makes a huge difference. But Mizzou lost a couple of quarterbacks along the way. They've lost to college football playoff teams so far this year. So I think it's K-State. And Chris Kleiman post game, I'm not sure if you saw that or not, or when Kleiman got very emotional and was letting the emotions out and crying after the game and talking about the locker room and how hard those players played, and then said, I've put my heart and soul in this program for 7 years. I think I've earned some respect around here. And then Gene Taylor comes up there and says, hey, we've got your back, the AD for K-State. It's been a mixed bag here, and I know the emotions immediately after that game when they felt like they were going to win and they were up by 10. But, man, I don't know how good of a look that is in a season where you're not playing as well and you sit up there after a loss and say, I've earned some respect around here, and people shouldn't be questioning, essentially meaning you shouldn't really be questioning what's going on. I know what I'm doing. Yeah. I've earned some respect. And then have the AD come up there and pat him on the back and, hey, we've got your back, man. I don't know. It was a tough look in what has been a tough season where there's some K-State fans that are like, yeah, I don't know that I can move on with this guy now. While some K-State fans are saying that's the emotions that we're showing, and I love that he's got his players back, and that's my coach.
Yeah. So, which local team is most disappointing? Is your question?
I mean, it's kind of my question, but it's also like I don't know what to think of Chris Kleiman's reaction after the game when it's like he's clearly feeling the hot seat when he says I've earned some respect around here in what I've done in 7 years. Yeah. I'm not sure that a coach in a disappointing season needs to go out and say that.
No, I tend to agree. I also this is one of those moments. There's a few different things here. One of those moments is like. I do radio in Knoxville with a bunch of old friends and former players. It's where I go to school. It's where I went to school, and they're asking me like, well, how should fans feel about this if they lose to Vanderbilt? And you and I have talked about this. Yeah. And I don't think there's anything there to feel differently about because I thought this was an 8-4 team. Now losing at home to a 10-2 Vanderbilt that goes to the playoff, your arch rival in the most important game in the history of this rivalry that you've dominated for decades, not a good look. But it doesn't change sort of where I thought the team was based on talent and trajectory and what happened in the offseason. Like, they are right where I thought they were. So I say all that to say, like, they ask me that question, like, how should we feel about this, which I think is sort of a similar question to what you're asking about Kansas State and with the fans. That was not the case for me with Kansas State. I thought this was the team that could – I know they lost some pieces to the draft, but, like, I thought with Johnson taking another step, the culture established there – this felt like a team where the league is wide open every single year, and as we are learning, we should just assume that whoever's picked ninth is probably going to win the league from now on.
Duh.
But like we had these expectations for Texas Tech, we had these expectations for Arizona State, and we had these expectations for Utah. All teams that were ranked in the preseason or close to it in our magazine from our perspective, and I thought, and those three have lived up to the hype. Texas Tech's been even better. So Kansas State's the one missing, right? Mm-hmm. So my point is like I think it is totally just and right to look at the program and look at the coach and look at the people involved and the resources and say this isn't good enough. This was a disappointing season. The other element, so I think that's totally fair. Obviously, I think the other element is we beg and plead for coaches to not be robots. Yeah. We beg and plead for them to be honest, to be human beings, and to show emotion. And then the second they do, we destroy them. And that is a media problem. That's a message board problem. That's a diehard fan problem. I don't know what you do about that. I agree with you, though. Like, that's not a great sentence to utter out loud. Like, I think you can show the emotion, be a human, do all those things, and also maybe not say that one sentence. So it's already kind of a weird optics, like you said. Yeah. Again, I didn't see it in real time, but like it's already weird optics to have your AD up there kind of patting you on the head a little bit. Like that's not good either. But I also like I totally get fans being frustrated, but I also appreciate him being like I don't think there's any reason for him to be on the actual hot seat. It doesn't mean there's not scrutiny. Steve Sarkisian at Texas. there should be tons of scrutiny on Texas. That's a disappointing season. He shouldn't be on the hot seat. Those are two different conversations.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's totally just the K-State fans are frustrated with this season, but I also think it's probably, a couple of steps too far ahead of the game of saying, you got to find somebody else, that Chris Kleiman ain't the guy. I think, because going in that Utah game, quite frankly, I'm like, Utah feels like what I would think K-State would be with Chris Kleiman, just that steady, good team, tough, hard-nosed team. Like Utah throws out their first-round draft pick offensive lineman and just feels like they're one of those type of teams, and that's what K-State feels like, but they haven't been that this year, although they go there and they've got a 10-point lead and that crazy 2-point conversion that looks like they're, potentially going to get a stop, and then they've got too many men on the field when the official doesn't allow the guys to get off the field. That was an odd one, and Chris Kleiman said yesterday, I reached out to the Big 12, they haven't got back to me. And for those that didn't see it, Utah subbed, and so the umpire, that's in the backfield goes and stands over the football. So K-State subs, and they've got two guys running the sideline, but the ref was looking over at the Arizona State sideline or the Utah sideline and then ran away from the football while the K-State players were jogging off.
I was wondering where Arizona State fit in.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, he was looking so far away at the Arizona State sideline. No wonder he missed the forest for the trees. It was crazy.
Well, it's funny. Like, obviously that play seems like it didn't end up in the correct situation. I do wonder, though, and this is kind of a related but side note, like I am curious what we do about the slow substitution on purpose to drain the play clock. I wonder, like, if you do substitute like that, do you automatically add 10 seconds, or like what do we do to is it just awesome that we can let that happen? Like, I really don't know what the officials are gonna, like, what the officiating departments, NFL or otherwise, are gonna do about that, because it does feel like teams are kind of manipulating the rule, obviously, to create either a snap that has to be rushed or an actual delay of game where you physically are not allowed to snap. Like, how can you penalize the offense that's ready to snap the ball if by holding the ball until it gets to zero? Like, don't you have to click it? Like, maybe it's not a full 40 seconds or 25, but there has to be something there, I feel like, no?
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. In a bigger picture, I know you're not saying this specific one because there were 13 seconds on the play clock, but in general, I'm with you, because we've seen that when a team has substituted and then the other team will go, oh, let's run a defensive lineman on there, and then this guy jogged
real slow.
Yep, jogged off. It's 5, it's 4, timeout. The offense. We've seen that before too. Right. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. We don't have a lot of time here with you because we've got 17 different people that are going to talk for the Chiefs today. They've taken a week's worth of press conferences, put it into one day. So I'll get your thoughts on KU and Utah and why the line is moving towards KU. I think that's interesting. It was 13 and a half. Now it's at 11. I don't know either. I didn't know if maybe you had some sort of an idea as to why the money is coming in on KU.
Well, I have no idea. I mean, Utah, maybe there's Utah realizes that it's real far-fetched, although I guess I'm not going to try to go through all the scenarios. I think they need, Arizona State to win and somebody to lose. I think it's Texas Tech has to lose maybe.
Yes.
And so I think it's maybe it's that. Maybe it's that they're just not – the focus is it doesn't make any sense. I have no answers for you, and very, very rarely are either of us speechless. So that's a hard one to answer. I will say it's still a heavy – I mean, you go 11.5 points. That's still saying Vegas is still telling you Utah's a very clear and heavy favorite. You look at those SEC games this week, and you're like, Texas only a 2-point underdog? That seems like they think that that Texas is going to play really well against its arch rival. So you can still learn something, but I don't know about a 2-point swing. I guess sharp money's coming in heavy on Kansas. Obviously.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's Kansas is playing for bowl eligibility, and Utah's maybe playing out the string if they or they're exhausted from last week's our final test. We got to get past K-State.
Is the time? Are they after?
It's 11 o'clock.
Could be eliminated.
It's 11 o'clock in the morning, so it's 9 o'clock for Utah. So that's interesting. So I don't know if that's part of it.
I was just wondering if they'd already be eliminated by the time the game kicks off, but I don't think they would.
No, they wouldn't, because it's
world like soccer. At the same time.
It's Friday at 11, so those other games don't play till Saturday. So they would know what the case is. Yeah. All right, Mississippi and Mississippi State. Does Kiffin win, or does Mississippi State come in there, they win, and then Kiffin takes the LSU job?
Man, like I still think his heart is more in Gainesville than it is Baton Rouge. But man, if it's a $10 million offer and a $14 million offer, and you can win more at LSU, it's a better job. It's gonna be hard to say no to that.
Yep.
The last time this happened was he was flirting with the Auburn job, and they lost to Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. So it is. This game is as passionate and crazy and insane as any other rivalry in all of the sport. It's just never had the gravity that it's got this week, which is playoff bid, coach might be leaving. Again, I am under the impression, from what I understand, that Kiffin has been agonizing between LSU and Florida for the last couple of weeks. And I thought up until that announcement of the $14 million deal offer, at least on the table, I was under the impression that he was leaning Florida. So we'll see if money changes that for Kiffin. But they have, like, if they lose, that's one of those moments where it's one of those few moments where, like, the one game might mean something, because it clearly means you're not as focused. Because the other thing I've been told is that the facility is overrun with Kiffin distraction.
Wow.
Like, it is just nothing but, well, what's going on, man? Which, again, from a human element, I totally understand.
Yep. Absolutely. Braden Gall, 440 Sports Podcast, Athlon Sports, ESPN Radio. You're the man, Braden, as always. Look forward to talking to you next Tuesday when we will have some more clarity on some of these things that are happening and getting ready for championship week. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you guys. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yes, you too as well, man. There's Braden Gall. Great stuff from him. 440 Sports Podcast Network, Athlon Sports, ESPN Radio. We take a timeout. We come back, continue rolling more zone next. I'm not sure if you know about the 3 T's of Thanksgiving, because turkey is for eating, table is for gathering, and touchdowns, well, of course, that's for winning. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can do a whole lot of that coming up on Thanksgiving. They are the official sports betting partner of the NFL, and you know that every touchdown can bring you closer to cashing in. With DraftKings Sportsbook, all the action is in your hands. First touchdown scores. Is that going to go to Kareem Hunt? They get down inside the goal line. Is it going to go to a big play to George Pickens in that Chiefs and Cowboys game? Anytime touchdown bets, maybe they get one for Kelsey. Maybe they find a way for Mahomes to run one in and score a touchdown there in Dallas, a place he's been waiting to play going home. Or maybe it's Rashee Rice, who's also going home to Dallas, where he played football there at SMU. Good, bad, or indifferent? I'm not sure. But DraftKings Sportsbook, all of those things are in play. Every snap, every game counts. And the best part, new customers bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. When touchdowns happen, we feast. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 810WHB. That's code 810WHB. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, Kansas only. Eligibility and restrictions apply. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll head out to Arrowhead Stadium where we will hear from Andy Reid. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes. We'll hear from Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy and Chris Jones and Kareem Hunt. Maybe not in that order, but those are the people we'll hear from. In fact, I think it's going to be Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, Matt Nagy, and then Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and Kareem Hunt. And we will see if Kareem Hunt is wheeled in the cold tub. Do they just wheel the cold tub into the press conference room and put the microphone in front of him while he sits in the cold tub and does the interview?
Give him the Paul Pierce wheelchair. Don't let him walk at all. We need you for Thursday, buddy.
Does he walk in with a cane and just, hey everybody, oh, what's up, young bucks? Hey, looking like Unc. Hey, Unc, what's going on? Thanksgiving, he's here. What young fella's up to around here?
I want to see his entire body just covered in ice.
Oh, my goodness, man. I have no idea. I don't think I've ever felt what Kareem Hunt felt waking up yesterday morning. I don't think my body's ever been to where it feels probably that bruised and stiff and achy. Just all over 30 carries.
He survived 30 car crashes.
Oh, my goodness, man. Like, that's, yeah. So we'll hear from Kareem Hunt today, along with Patrick Mahomes, and along with Chris Jones, and Steve Spagnuolo, and Matt Nagy, and Andy Reid. Timo Risk at Pro Football Focus puts out the list of NFL offenses and how often they convert to a new series of downs. So how often first down is converted to a first down, how often on second down they convert to a first down, how often on third down they convert to a first down, and how often on fourth down they convert to a first down, and the overall percentage of those conversion rates. And for the first time in I don't know how long, the Chiefs are number one in the NFL. But the Dallas Cowboys are number 5. The Indianapolis Colts are number 2, which when we hear from Chris Jones and Steve Spagnuolo, I think there's some perspective to what we saw on Sunday when the defense had to step up time and time and time and time again, especially those last 4, and hold them to 3 and out. The Colts are the second best offense in converting to first downs, in converting different downs into a new series of downs. And they went 0 for 4 on first down, 0 for 4 on second down, 0 for 4 on third down. While the Chiefs on offense had 1 3 and out, but then a long drive for a touchdown. Well, not necessarily a long drive, but you get the point. And then a couple of field goal drives that were longer to put them into a position to tie and then win the game. But it just shows what we've seen at times with this offense. That what were they doing when they were rolling? When the Chiefs were putting up, the 4 or 5 straight games, whatever it was, with 28 or more points. They were like, all right, this is the offense of 2022. It's back. This is that offense now. And when they were doing that against, Ravens, Jags, Lions, Raiders, Commanders, those 5 straight games where they scored at least 28, they were converting in the red zone. They were driving, they were picking up yards, but they were scoring touchdowns in the red zone. And that has become difficult for them to do. So it's not necessarily a surprise that after 12 weeks of football, adjusted for opponent, that the Chiefs come in number 1 for offenses that convert to a new series of downs. They were plus 23 in first downs against the Colts. The number 2 offense in the NFL. The Colts, for the first time all year, were stopped in a goal-to-go situation. They had not been stopped in a goal-to-go situation. It was like 31 straight. I mean, it feels like the Chiefs have gone 31 straight with not scoring in a goal-to-go situation. I mean, they were first and goal at the 2. I had all the confidence in the world they were going to score a touchdown. I really did. Until the first down play, they lost 2 yards. And at that point, I'm like, oh, God. Somebody make a play on second or third down, please. I don't want to go into overtime and have to have the defense do it yet again. And the offense, I want the game to be over so I can breathe again. Okay? Like my body is a ball of anxiety. Okay? My body of anxiety feels like what Kareem Hunt's body probably felt like yesterday and maybe still today. It's just a ball of anxiety. But once they were stopped on first down, I had zero faith that they were going to come through, and that sucks. Because when they were on that run, it was like, oh, they're scoring. They're finding ways to get in. And I don't know if it's scheme or play calling or execution, but at times it just feels like it is pulling teeth, or they are playing in sand at times when they get down to goal-to-go situations. Whereas the Colts are just like, goal to go, there's 7. Goal to go, 7 or 6. Goal to go, another touchdown. Goal to go, another touchdown. And the Chiefs' defense finally stopped him, which was massive, massive, to hold him to that field goal. Because that was the last first down they got. That's how crazy that game was. The number 2 offense in converting downs to first downs, and a team that had not been stopped in goal to go this year, had a first and goal, up 17-9. A touchdown ends the game, let's be honest. Well, I guess in theory they could have they'd had 4th and goal because they would have needed a touchdown at that point because they went for 2 the previous one, so they'd have been down 7. They'd have been down 24-17 at that point. Who knows? But you get the point. It would have been pretty dire straits at that point. 24 to 9. And instead, with a first and goal and scoring literally every time this year in that situation, the Chiefs, 1, get a stop, and don't allow another first down the rest of the game defensively. I mean, that is so freaking difficult to do. And there are flowers to be given out all over the defense, including Chris Jones having his best game of the year. They had to have it. Here's Andy Reid.
All right. The guys that won't practice there are Noah and Trey. And we'll just see how they progress here in the next day or so. Look forward to the challenge of playing Dallas. It's a great honor to play on Thanksgiving Day. Have an opportunity again to play the Cowboys. So Brian's done a nice job there. They had a very productive game against Philadelphia. He's got good coordinators, coaches, and good players. So our guys started the week yesterday with walk through there and jog through, whatever you want to call it, learning the plays, and we'll move on to today. So look forward to again going down there. With that, time's yours.
Coach, you listened to Chanel Bryson-Worthy's limited estimating. Is feeling good about that?
Yeah, I mean it was I think they'll be all right. See how it all rolls.
What are your expectations for Isaiah Pacheco for this week?
Well, let's see how he does today, but then we'll get him in there and he'll play. How much? I can't tell you that right now. We'll see how it goes.
Along the running back front, you did sign a running back to the practice squad, Damian Pierce. What are your expectations for him as he tries to learn his system?
Yeah, that's the main thing right now. Just get in and learn what we're doing, and we'll take it from there. He's been productive, so good player. Brett's always doing a nice job of finding guys and adding them to the roster, and so we'll just see, kind of play by ear, see how it goes here.
With how much film work you do, I guess, how have you seen Quinn Williams boost the defense for the Cowboys in the last 2 games?
Yeah, he's done. He's a great player, so he's done a nice job there. That front is again a good, respectable front, and they bring it, and he's a big part of that.
Andy, you guys have kind of become a staple for you guys to be playing on Thanksgiving and Christmas now, and obviously there's logistical points with that, but how do you just treat it as embracing it in terms of what it means for the franchise and getting these kind of games?
Yeah, it's an honor to be asked to play on those days. I mean, it means you're doing or have done halfway decent, right? So it's not a lot of games being played either one of those 2 days. So that's why I think that's the way you have to approach it. I can't tell you I'm great. I'm excited about short weeks, but I mean that's part of this thing. So the guys, we get them ready and they go play.
This is an important game for Patrick since he's never gotten to play in Dallas as a professional before. How do you manage that in a game like this for him? Do you just let him run with the emotions, or do you try to keep him in check? Or
Yeah, man, I think he'll be okay there. I mean, it's familiar territory, if nothing else for him. He's played in there a few times, so he, and that's his old home team, right? But I think he'll be fine. Yeah.
Andy, as much as film as you would have watched on him in college, do you remember, able to separate him? Do you remember any of those games that he played in that state, and on that first Baylor game in particular?
Yeah, I did watch it. Now, if you start asking me every play, I'm not going to tell you, but I do remember seeing it. Yeah, I do. Yeah, Veach wore me out with all this stuff. So.
And how well do you think Kareem Hunt held up with 30 carries? So
yeah, I'm proud of him. And he's upright, which is a positive thing. So he's doing good. It just shows you what he's put into it. I think at that age, at that position, those guys don't normally hang around very, very long and be productive like he was this past week. So, he wanted more. I guess that's a good thing.
Coach, one of the things, the Cowboys came back from 21 down, impressive enough to come back and score those points, but their defense shut the Eagles out after that. What do they have working well for them right now on defense?
Yeah, well, it starts up front with them. That front brings it. You saw that the other night. So that's real. Eagles have a good offensive line. It's a great challenge for our offensive line, and they're legit there. Yeah.
Andy, are you aware that there's a trophy with this game?
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure I've ever seen the trophy, but I know they have a thing going.
Maybe not as prominent as a college rivalry trophy. But.
Yeah, but that's good for. It's all good. Yeah. All right.
All right. There's Andy Reid. Noah Gray not playing or not practicing. Trey Smith not practicing. I'm gonna guess not playing as well. They were both projected to be DNPs yesterday when they put out the projected injury report, but Noah Gray with that concussion, Trey Smith with the ankle, and we already heard the report yesterday that Trey Smith is expected to, quote, miss some time, so I don't expect him to play this weekend or, 2 days from now. That means Caliendo will be in there against Quinnen Williams, so that'll be fun. That'll be fun with him in there. We'll find out. Hopefully he will hold his own. Isaiah Pacheco, he will play. How much he'll play, can't really tell right now. Dameon Pierce, you got to get him in here, learn what we're doing, and then see where he's at. And then Andy Reid saying that Brett Veach does a pretty good job of bringing those guys in. And Patrick Mahomes on the emotions. He'll be able to handle it there. And how about, is it Kareem Hunt wanted more? He wanted more carries. Keep feeding him. 30? Give me 40.
Give him 50.
Give me 50. Come on, 60. I don't care. Feed me. Everybody got to eat. I want to eat more. A lot of people were eating yesterday on Sunday, and they'll be eating on Thursday, hopefully. Everybody got to eat. It's Thanksgiving, man. Sam McDowell asking Andy Reid about that game with Texas Tech and Baylor back in 2016, and Andy joking that, Brett Veach, showed me all of those things. Yes, I remember the game. They played in Jerry Jones Dome in Dallas, and Patrick Mahomes threw for 586 yards and 6 touchdowns with no interceptions in that game. So other than that, he struggled, I think, probably in that game, I would say. I mean, he was only 30 of 46. So, by the way, 30 completions for 586 yards and 6 touchdowns. So I think, familiar with the area, certainly. Feeling at home, great. Played there before, awesome. Here's Steve Spagnuolo.
A Tuesday, that's a Thursday, Friday.
But you can remember the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a pretty good point. I got a lot in my head right now. It's been a long, 48 hours. But, really proud of the way the guys played last week. And now it's on to the next one. We got to turn the page pretty quickly, so I'll just open it up.
Steve, how would you describe Chris's influence on the game on Sunday?
Yeah, I think he's kind of done that the past 2 weeks. And I told him it might have been after the game, that I've noticed that he's been practicing at a high level. Just appeared to be different to me in the last 2 weeks, and I think it's showing up on the field. And and you guys know, you see it, you study the tape enough to know that even though it might not show up in a stat line, he's making a difference. With the things we had one pressure we brought that he won real quick, and I think he made the ball get thrown quicker than they really wanted to, and that helped. That was big.
How have you seen George Karlaftis improve year over year?
Yeah, I mean, George is fighting the brace on his hand right now. Him and I have been talking about that a lot, but I think, and he's kind of grown, and Chris and George have a really close relationship. I think that helps. He has with all the guys, and I think they're always talking football. At least I always see him talking football. Yeah, he came here as a young, I don't know, was he 20 yet when we drafted him? How young he was, and he just turned 20 or 21. But he's grown into a fine young man, great character, and loves football. So he does anything and everything to get really good at football.
Steve, what stands out to you the most about the things you have to deal with in a short week? And what concerns you the most just by virtue of that?
Yeah, probably the biggest concern is, when you get a full week, I think you can dig, try to find a weakness, put something different in. Now, have we put some wrinkles in? Yeah, we kind of prepared for this a little bit back a while ago. But I don't think you can get the full allotment of what you would like to have. Like, what'll be interesting is after the game saying, if we had time, we could have put this in, but I hope that doesn't happen. And really, I think the biggest challenge, and Coach Reed's probably talked about it, is just getting the guys fresh and ready to play physically.
Steve, could you speak to Brian Cook's game?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought Brian up. I mean, I think sometimes he goes unnoticed. We talk about Trent and Nick and, the corners because they're really important in this league. But I think Brian had a really good game last week. Tackled well. I think he's always tackles well. And he kind of runs the show back there. He's been doing that for a couple of years now. And I'm glad we got him because the continuity is huge, having a guy like that.
How do you begin to deal with these two Cowboys receivers who seem to be just having junkyard?
Yeah, I'm not sure. They two big dudes, right? And they've been doing it really good for a long time. But we'll see. We're gonna have to mix it up a little bit. It's hard. I think the reason they're both so good now is because you can't take both of them away. You can't double both of them. So we'll find ways to try to mix it up.
Steve, what's the challenge of those guys? The fact that it's not just that they separate, that they catch the ball even when they're covered. What's the
They got that, big catch radius, right? Length. It's hard to find DBs that are as long as they are. And I tell you the other thing that sticks out to me, both of them when they catch the football. I mean, there's a lot of yards after catch. Number 9, throw him in there. He does it too. He's a speedy guy. So they got a lot of weapons. They got a lot of things to worry about.
After Kareem's fumble, did you feel a momentum shift at that point on the field, or did you see it on the film that there was a difference?
In terms of our momentum?
Yeah, your momentum.
Yeah. Well, I think, certainly after that series when we got the stop, I thought there was a huge boost for us. But you get in that situation, it's a little bit of a downer because you think you're going to go ahead and score some points. But, our job is to go out there, and when we always talk about backed up, it's one of the situations we do in a meeting, and we do it on the field. We feel like if we can get a 3-and-out, it should be points for our guys because, the punt, how far can you punt it? And then Patrick get a few yards, maybe kick a field goal or get a touchdown. So I thought that drive, and I thought the drive at the end of the half, at the end of the half, it might have been in the 4-minute, wherever it was, or maybe under 2 minutes, but we had an end of the half stop that we gave the ball back to the offense. I always talk about the 4 really important series of the game. I think I've said this before, the first and last of each half. And in this particular game, we played pretty good, I think, at all 4 of them.
Steve, you've got a lot of options at the third cornerback. Just Christian Rowland-Wallace, what have you been seeing from him?
Yeah, now Christian's been playing inside there for us in the nickel. He's done exceptionally well. He's just done this the whole time he's been here. He came in as a free agent. We didn't know if he was a corner or a safety, but he's a good football player. Got really good instincts, really good ball skills, and tackles well. And we're always trying to find ways to. You can see we've been tinkering back there a little bit, and we'll see where a lot of it depends on the matchup of the players that we're going against. But Chris Roland Wallace is going to play for us. He'll do some things for us.
You've coached for several teams who have a rivalry with the Cowboys. Have you coached on a Thanksgiving down there?
No. I think it's the first, but it hadn't been involved in the Thanksgiving Day game.
So did you? You guys' lives are different than a lot of people. You work on Thanksgiving all the time. So
Yeah.
you practice that. But would this be normally a game that you home at 3:25 watching football at that point? Or are you still up here working? What's it like generally for you?
Typically, if we had a Sunday game, I mean, you usually work the calendar around that. You make Thursday more like a Friday. You know how we normally go earlier, and then we can get the work done and usually catch part of one of those games. But if I'm home, and I mean, listen, we all want to go home and have some turkey on Thanksgiving, right? If you can. But I turn the game on and watch it. Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, John Madden and Treduncan, and I mean, I think that stuff's all really cool. Yeah.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. It was really happy Thanksgiving.
All right, there's Steve Spagnuolo. You're listening to KCFX HD4 Harrisonville, WHB Kansas City. We will hear from Matt Nagy, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Kareem Hunt. A lot of stuff there from Spags that we can get into and talk about. But how about that? He said Chris Jones, coming out of that Denver game, he played well in the Denver game and then played his best game on Sunday and said, I told him after the game that, he's been practicing at a high level the last couple of weeks. And now that's showing up on the field. So Chris Jones clearly wanting to take his game to the next level from whatever's happened, heading into the bye week versus now it's sort of that stretch run to get to the playoffs, and they need him to be Chris Jones. If he wasn't dominant on Sunday, the Chiefs don't win that game. There are a lot of things that have to happen and players making plays where if this, if that, the Chiefs don't win that game. But one of the big parts of what the defense did in holding the Colts to 20 points and really 13 points and then a 3-yard drive, but to get to 20 and keeping them out of the end zone and having that backed up possession that Steve Spagnuolo said, those possessions where the team is backed up, that you're going to get points. You get the ball back to the Chiefs. When that offense is backed up against the goal line, if we get a stop, that's going to be points for us. The offense is going to go out there, at least put 3 on the board, maybe a touchdown. And the Chiefs did that. They put a touchdown on the board and 2-point conversion. So getting that stop, 3 and out, led to 8 points for the Chiefs and getting back in there. But Chris Jones had to be dominant in that game, and he was. And he stepped up in big moments. And he mentioned one of those plays, and I don't remember which one it was, but he said one of those plays, that third down, he got such a quick pressure that it forced the throw from Daniel Jones that resulted in an incomplete pass. And, that was a big part. He won so quickly in his matchup. And he was doing that a number of times. So they were bringing a blitz, and to be able to account for the blitz, it made it less often that the Colts could double or triple team Chris Jones in the game. And he took advantage of that. He was really good. And even on that last play from scrimmage in overtime for the Colts, on that 3rd down and 1, Chris Jones is lined up to the left side of the center. And at the snap, he runs immediately to his left, crosses the center's face, goes and takes the center with him and hits the guard. Drew Tranquill is lined up over the right guard. So he's lined up to the left of Chris Jones. And Tranquill runs right where that vacated gap is. And he's got a clear shot at Jonathan Taylor. It's a beautiful scheme. We talk about things that are annoying, sending 3 on 3rd and 15 for Spags and not blitzing, and a spy with Leo Chanel. 3rd and 1, massive play. If he picks up a half yard, they're probably going for it on 4th and a half yard. Maybe if he's even stopped, they may decide to go for it. But you run that where they have so much attention to Chris Jones that he's lined up between the center and the left guard, and he immediately crosses the face of the center. And the center then has to move with him. And the left guard is like, okay, well, Chris Jones is going that way. I've got this over here because it's running to, and it leaves that wide open gap for Tranquill just to run right through in that run blitz. Beautiful scheme. But having Chris Jones on the field matters. Because if that was Pennell or Noddy, I'm not sure that it's that much attention that it opens up that wide of a gap for Tranquill to split through and have a free run at Jonathan Taylor. So, Chris Jones on the field makes an impact even when he doesn't get credit for a sack or a tackle for loss. Here's Matt Nagy.
All right, go ahead.
What are the biggest challenges you guys face with this Cowboys defense?
Well, you see from evidence of this last game how tenacious they are. I mean, that defensive line, they fly around. Their defense right now, they're playing with a lot of confidence. Anytime you get into these short weeks, or short days, hours, you're trying to get as much as you can, see what you can. And you just see on tape, like they fly around, and I have a lot of respect for Coach Eberflus and what he does on defense. And I think the biggest thing is, again, I know they've given up some points early in the year, but I think right now when you watch the film, you see that they're flying around, and they just had a heck of a game against Philadelphia.
Matt, you're close with Pat. What do you think going back home to Dallas and the Cowboys is going to mean to him?
It'll be special for him any way you look at it. I mean, for 4 years now, we've been going back and forth on Pennsylvania versus Texas high school football, and so I know how much pride he has in Texas and going back home. So it'll be big for him, but at the same time, he keeps it all in perspective.
In the eyes of your group, what makes Mike Caliendo such a good plug-and-play option for you?
He knows everything. He's a guy that every day in practice, I think back to like in training camp, just the way how focused and where he's at. You go back to last year in the Super Bowl, and I know, and not just the Super Bowl, but before that. So we have a lot of trust in him, and we think he's in a great spot.
What's on your mind the most about dealing with a short week? What are the things that just concern you?
Short week-wise is you really have to just lock in on what you do well. There's so much that goes into it. Just right after the game, guys are banged up. We had 96 plays, so on offense, that's a lot of plays. And so guys are usually it's the second day, which is today, that guys get the most sore. So there's a balance of the physical part, but also and taking care of them there, but then also the mental side of how you handle that, because that's very important here. I mean, in 2 more days, they're back out on the field with the possibility of a lot more plays. So we have to make sure that there's that balance of giving them what we see with Dallas, letting them understand what we're doing, so that in the end you want to be able to play fast.
Matt, what are your thoughts on that?
Go ahead.
What stood out to you about the couple plays that Rashid made on the last drive of regulation, just to get things going?
The stuff he does after the catch, strong hands, and making big plays at big time moments. I mean, that's what was so neat to see. One of the ones to me that was just so critical in that game was when we were backed up, and he made that catch over the middle. Running after that, he's hard to bring down, so he plays physical football, and I really like his growth there as that game went on, and I think he's really starting to, getting back into conditioning and stuff like that. I like where he's at.
Man, how about just the way Kareem held up and how he responded to the fumble?
Well, again, we joke with him. 30 carries, and for somebody that is no spring chicken with where he's at, but I mean he's so tough. I mean he's such a valuable part to this offense. For him to come back the way he did just shows his leadership. I think the guys too on the sideline they were so great with him, just being there for him. And that's probably one of the things that throughout that game, as that game went on, it was early on, it just didn't go the way we wanted it to go. But the guys stuck together, and then we found a way to win in the end, all 3 phases. And it was a team game, and that was a part of it. I mean, when you lose the ball down there in the red zone, that's a big play, But the defense stepped up, everyone stayed together, and then those guys made plays as we moved on.
Matt, what are your thoughts on Josh Simmons since he's returned, especially last game?
He's doing great. I love his athleticism. He's physical. He's nasty. He's really he sets the tone on the offensive side of the ball for us. I mean, you put on that tape, and we couldn't spend too much time on the tape. I mean, you gotta get right into the next game. So, but you see it, and you see what he's doing, and there's some nastiness. And I think anytime you can get nasty on the O-line level, man, that's a beautiful thing.
Nate?
You mentioned it earlier, but what concerns you most about your guys' just slow starts over the last couple months now, particularly in the first quarter?
I would just say probably it's I look at it and I think, Nate, that it's more of a, when you look at, we get down into that big red zone, and there, for whatever reason there's these penalties, and you look at them like, which ones can you control? And so a few weeks ago we had some holds early on. When when it's illegal shifts or motion, stuff like that, that's so controllable. Those got to be eliminated. If it's a hold, if it's a face mask, you know, you got those. It can become more gray because of how it goes on, but in the end, you can't do it. So you have a touchdown taken away in the first half. Can't do it. I don't care. You know, you just cannot have that happen. So, but we battled back. We've been talking about it. The guys know it. We emphasize it. But you got to do it now. And when we don't do that, we're pretty good.
When, a lot of talk about the RPOs and whatever, whatever you call them, straight runs or
breather runs.
Breather runs.
Yeah.
On that, did you run more breather runs this week? Did it just dictate that way? I mean, I know it was disappointing the first RPO ended up getting.
Yeah, that was tough. It was maybe a little bit more. There was probably a little bit more of those. Again, those are two when you can get in a rhythm. I thought we were able to, even when we weren't scoring touchdowns in the first half, we were moving the ball. So there's a balance of those breather runs. And then when you have RPO runs too, sometimes you all know when it's a throw, obviously you think it's maybe a pass call and it could be an RPO, or sometimes it's just a straight run call and it's a breather run from the gun that looks the same. So in the end, we don't care. We want to be able to get production and stay I mean, that helps us in the play actions. That helps us in the screen game. And when you're calling breather runs for your team, it's also, we call it a breather run for a reason. It takes one less thing off the quarterback to think about on every play. So those are good.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, there you go. There's Matt Nagy and those breather runs versus the RPOs and some of those penalties and setting up a screen. I mean, they set up that screen for Brashard Smith. That worked, but then they had the illegal blindside hit, which by the rule, you cannot block back towards the line of scrimmage, even though it wasn't a blindside. It was right in front of Charvarius Ward. And then Charvarius Ward even saying, after the game, because he's been dealing with concussions, and so, the guy that, we like, you don't want to see anything happen to him, but said, luckily he hit me more in the chest instead of in the head area, which it could have been easy to hit him in the head because Kings is a big dude. Charvarius Ward, not necessarily. But yeah, they've had those penalties, and those breathers set up that screen. It was a big play that was eventually called back, and they had the same down and distance because of the penalty being downfield. But an interesting thing that he brought up there was on the short week. He was asked by Vahe, what are the challenges of a short week? And Spags talked about it too. But what Matt Nagy said is you have to lock in on what you do well. And then talked about the physical part. We ran 96 plays on offense on Saturday, he said. But it's the second day that guys get really sore, which would be today. The mental part. Can you get back up to play a game on Thursday when you just ran almost 100 plays in a game on Sunday? And you've got to have that quick turnaround. How do you handle that? But you have to make sure, he said, that we give them from, paraphrasing, what Dallas is going to do. But you have to be confident in your own stuff so that you can play fast there at the end. And if he's talking about you got to lock in on what you do well, I mean, look, one of the main staples of their offense is the RPOs. I mean, it's been right, wrong, or indifferent, whether fans are complaining about it. It's one of the main staples that they do. We'll see how much that will be against the Dallas Cowboys, how much they'll be able to run with Kareem Hunt. We know that Andy Reid has already said that Isaiah Pacheco is playing on Thursday. So does that take some of the weight off the shoulders of Kareem Hunt in the game? If you see more Isaiah Pacheco and them splitting the carries, how does he look in the game against Dallas? Are they able to open up holes in the defense for Dallas? And if that's the case, does that open up other areas? The screen game, the working across the middle that Rashee Rice was doing when they were spending so much time, they as in the Colts spending so much time keeping the middle controlled and covered to where Tony Romo had to be on repeat in the game saying, outside the numbers, you got to work outside the numbers, Patrick Mahomes is going through his progressions too fast. Outside the numbers. Then that big play to Rashee Rice was in between the numbers. Down the middle of the field. Catch and run 47 yards. Because if you're working outside as much, that's to Romo's point, if they're going to be controlling the middle of the field that you want to work in, and then you start working outside the numbers to where Xavier Worthy, nobody was within 8 or 9 yards when he turned the corner and stepped out of bounds. Like he was that wide open because they're saying nothing in the middle. We're looking at crossers and rub routes and these quick ins, and we're not going to, let them just destroy us in the middle of the field. So if they work outside the numbers, which they don't typically do, well, then we'll give them that until they started taking that, which then resulted in some of the stuff in the middle being open. Because that pass to Rashee Rice in overtime, that was the, pass in the middle of the field to Rashee Rice. Not just the 2nd and 13 when you're down by 3. That pass in overtime to Rashee Rice was huge. So what do they do well? Lock in on that, and you've got to finish in the red zone. Got to finish in the red zone. He said the slow starts. He was asked, "What's the deal? What are the issues with some of these slow starts?" He said, "You get in the red zone and you got these penalties. A few weeks ago it was holding calls, but the illegal shifts and formations, like those, you can't have. That has to be eliminated." And then he mentioned, face mask or hands to the face or whatever. Clearly talking about the play on Sunday with the Colts and saying, that can't happen. You can't do it. That has to be eliminated. It just can't. When you take a touchdown off the board, whether it was the right call, the wrong call, his hand shouldn't be up at the head anyway. And he shouldn't be grabbing in that way to where he's touching the helmet and pulling it back to him, which is making the player and his head move in that particular way. Here's Patrick Holmes.
So many guys during the game, yourself included, got a little bit banged up, and everyone kind of getting back in there and grinding. You kind of feel the importance of the game with the fact that everyone, no matter what, was trying to get back out there on the field.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the people that we have in this locker room. They want to win and they want to leave it all out there. And everybody's banged up at this time of the year, but you have to be able to fight through that and play your best football. So I'm proud of the guys and how they responded in an adverse moment, and we'll keep building on that going into this week.
Patrick, the first time that you played at the stadium against Baylor, what do you remember about that game and just the excitement of getting that chance to do that?
Yeah, no, it was really cool. I mean, obviously, I was a freshman in college, and it was kind of my shot to prove that I could be the starting quarterback the next year. And got down early. Not a lot of stuff wasn't going our way, and we were playing a really good football team. But we were able to rally back and came up a 2-point conversion short. And so I think the biggest lesson I learned was I took a sack on the 2-point play, and I was like, and Coach Kingsbury came to me after the game, was like, it's 2-point play, you got to just throw it up or do something. So just learning stuff like that. But it was also obviously an awesome experience for me growing up in the East Texas area.
Did you go to the stadium at all as a kid, just as a fan?
Yeah, I went a good amount. Once to the old stadium when I was really young, and then the new stadium once it was built. My dad used to get he could get us into the bottom area where the Cowboys come out, so we'd get the nosebleed seats, and then just go down there the whole game. I don't know if that's allowed, but it was really cool, just making memories with my dad, my brother, and stuff like that. And so got to go to probably 3 to 4 games growing up.
Patrick, the short weeks obviously pose a challenge, but playing on Christmas, playing on Thanksgiving, things like that, how was that made up for, I guess, with just your adrenaline and excitement to be in the spotlight that way? Yeah,
I mean, obviously you grew up watching Thanksgiving games, no matter who you're a fan of. If it's the Lions, the Cowboys, or whoever's playing at night, I mean, you grew up watching those games. And so I think as that kid in me wants to be able to go out there and play on Thanksgiving and find a way to win. And obviously short week, we're grinding in here right now and getting the whole game plan in and making sure everybody's prepared and ready to go. But I think we're excited to get to go out there and play on Thanksgiving against a really good football team and the whole world watching.
And even just to that point, too, in the bigger picture sense, are you pretty cognizant of that, like what this does for Chiefs' presence and brand in terms of being visible all over the world?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've played some Super Bowls too, so I think more than anything, we just want to win. If you're going to be in front of everybody, you want to win the football game. So, I mean, you're definitely aware of it, but you're more worried about winning the football game.
Patrick, was it a kid you have been excited to play at Cowboy Stadium?
Yeah, no, for sure. Just getting to play back at home, and obviously have a lot of people in attendance that may not get to come up to Kansas City all the time and watch the games. And so it'll be a really cool experience playing there, especially on Thanksgiving. And I'll have a lot of family and friends in the stands.
How many tickets you got to get?
I got a really big sweet. I don't really do like the numbers. It's more of a Brittany question, but I'm sure it's gonna be like 50 plus. Yeah, I mean, there's no tickets left. That's all I know. So I don't know how that worked out, but I usually let Brittany handle all that.
What's tangible from the successes of the fourth quarter and overtime last game that you think can carry over with the offense in this game?
Yeah, I think it was huge that we beat man coverage. You know, I think throughout the last few weeks here, teams are really challenging us in man, and I got to be able to make those throws in those big moments, and I was able to make the throws. Guys were able to get themselves open. Coaches called the plays really well, and we executed. And I think whenever we're able to do that, it forces defense to have to adjust and play zones where I feel like we can play at a high level as well. And so being able to prove that we can do both, I think it's something that we have to continue to do through the rest of the season.
Patrick, what does it say about Kareem to carry the ball 30 times when you guys really need him to do so?
Yeah, I mean, he's a my bad. He's a warrior. He's someone that truly wants to win. He wants to compete. He wants to be out there for his guys and give everything that he has. And I think he showed that. I mean, he showed it all season long, but he really showed that this week. And I'm sure he wasn't feeling great running some of those runs back to back to back, but he was going to do whatever it takes to win, and you need those guys on your team.
Patrick, did you watch the Cowboys every week growing up? Was that a thing?
I wouldn't say necessarily growing up, but once I got into football, kind of 7th, 8th grade ish age, that's when I started to really kind of get into football. And Cowboys were my dad's favorite team, so I obviously watched a ton of Cowboys and stuff like that. And I got to watch a lot of Tony, so I watched Tony play a ton, and so it's been cool to get to meet him now, just because he was like the quarterback that I grew up watching, and there was a lot of good times watching those games with my family. So it's definitely going to be surreal being able to play them at the stadium that I watched them play it a lot.
As you watched the defense this week getting ready for the Cowboys, they were obviously very good in the second half against the Eagles to shut them out. They look like they're playing better football as they get along. What are your impressions of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it exactly right. I mean, obviously they've been in the scheme a little bit longer, and then they've added players. They've also gotten players healthy. And you see they're playing at a higher level than they were even playing at the beginning of the year, and that comes with being more comfortable with the scheme that you're in. And so they're coached really well by Coach Eberflus. They fly around to the football, and they're kind of in the same situation as us. It's kind of all on the line. You got to go out there every single week and play your best football, and they've responded these last few weeks and played really good football. So it'll be a great challenge for us.
Last three, Matt.
Patrick, it looked like in the fourth quarter overtime you were favoring the leg a little bit. When did that pop up during the game, and how are you feeling now?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just little tweak thing he did kind of on the first run down the sideline, trying to open up, and then having another run kind of back to back. But I mean, it's kind of part of it. It's just part of playing football. Stuff like that happens, and all you do is you get back in, you get some work on it, and you go out there and practice.
Sam,
you mentioned beating man to man. How much did that being backed up against the goal line, that throw to Rashid, which didn't seem like a real wide window? How much do you feel like that sort of got that part of the goal?
Yeah, it gave me confidence. I mean, just to keep firing, like it's not always going to be pretty. I think that's something that I've learned throughout my career is it's not always going to be wide open or perfect play call. You got to sometimes let guys just win, and that's what happened there is Rashid won against a really good cornerback, and he got across the middle, and there was a tight window. You give him a chance, he makes a catch. And makes yards after the catch. And so, that's stuff you have to do, especially versus man coverage, and we did a good job of that in the fourth quarter and overtime.
Last one, Mike.
I don't imagine it's on anybody's mind, but are you aware there's a trophy with this game?
I know there's a turducken. I know is that the trophy? The owner's trophy. Yeah, I've heard of that. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I think we should have it right now. Huh? We won the last time we played the Cowboys, so. Try to keep that in the Hunt household, I guess.
Yeah. So you're thinking more of the turducken?
I'm thinking of the turducken, man. John Madden, like that's to me, that's the coolest thing, and obviously a legend of the game. I was able to talk to him a couple times on the phone with Coach Reed, and so to be able to be a part of that, I think that would be a special moment.
All right, there you go. To get the turducken, you got to go out there and win. So, the trophy, the owner's trophy, whatever it is, but it's we want to keep that in Hunt's house, I guess, or at least the suite at Arrowhead, maybe. He will have a suite there in Dallas with lots and lots of people, but who's going to be there? How many tickets? That's a question for Brittany. What happened in fourth quarter and the overtime? Simple. We beat man coverage, as he said. Last few weeks, teams have been challenging us. I got to make those throws. And the thing that stood out, too, about that 2nd and 13 play was also it wasn't just wide open guy. Like, Rashee Rice didn't beat man coverage and have, like, 5. It wasn't college open. It was NFL open. And he said that throw, it gave me confidence just to keep firing. It's not always going to be pretty. And I think there's something to take away from that, too, that, those throws, those aren't always going to be wide open if you're beating man coverage. You got to fire it, let him make a play, and he threw an absolute dart to Rashee Rice and then let him run and go and do his thing. And 47 yards later, the Chiefs are in business to go and tie that thing up. So, certainly that 4th down and 3 to Rashee Rice was pretty big as well. And the Dallas defense, he said, they've added players and they got healthy. They got guys back and they've added players. And they are playing, he said, like we are, in the fact that both these teams, Chiefs and the Cowboys, are playing with everything on the line. As the season is going along, these are games you have to win. And both teams are entering Thursday and Thanksgiving looking at the standings on the outside looking in, but knowing there are opportunities for them to go and make the playoffs. It's a big game for both teams, not as big as the game was on Sunday for both teams, and especially that game for the Cowboys on Sunday. To come back and beat the Eagles that way, a divisional opponent. Chiefs beating the Colts was huge because you can't lose another AFC game, and you can't go 5-6. And being how far behind you were in the standings anyway, that can't happen. So finding a way to come back and win that game, Cowboys down 21, Chiefs down 11, both teams make their comeback and win. And now they match up. And the winner of this game is going to be feeling really good going into the mini bye week. Because the Chiefs, while right now they are banged up and they're hurting, you spend the week, you grind, you do all of that stuff, you go out and win, and you feel great after. Here's Kareem Hunt.
Taking it a day at a time, just to get my body back.
I was gonna say, what do you do to recover from a game like that, recovery-wise?
Sleep. And get in the cold tub, massage, stuff like that.
How much did you enjoy a workload like that? I guess it's been a while.
It's fun. Definitely get to play a lot of football. That's what I love to do. So, it's fun.
Kareem, you're doing all the right things on this, but how much does adrenaline matter when it comes to recovering? Like on Thursday, will that carry you a little bit too?
Oh, for sure, most definitely. Especially when you put them pads on and get out there. Try to just forget about it.
What did you think you did for yourself, Kareem, to come back and perform well after the fumble? And what did some of the guys do on the sideline to make sure you stayed engaged?
They just, told me to keep my head up, man. We're gonna get it back. We're gonna give it back to you. So just, make the most of it. So, I had to just, think positive. And when I got the ball, I was gonna run pissed off.
It was a weird-looking play. When I was looking at the TV replay, it almost looked like Josh Simmons' hand got jammed in there, too. Could you tell what happened on that fumble?
No, not really. It was kind of like I was falling forward, about to fall on my head, and I kind of thought I was hit the ground or I was on the ground, and it was just kind of weird. It just rolled and it slipped out. I really didn't even try to go after it that quick because I kind of thought I was down already, so it's one of them things.
Kareem, on the flip side, I think it was 8 years between fumbles you lost. That's a long time to go without losing the fumble. How do you account for that over the years? And was the shock effect of the first one something that stuck with you?
Yeah, for sure. I ain't had that feeling in a long time. I never want to, have that feeling. I knew from my first carry. And that was just one of those things, I'm human. Stuff happens. It's kind of like fluky. I don't know, what I should have made sure I had it better or something. I don't know.
But how do you think you went so long without doing it again?
Oh, just always, man, just having a feel for the ball, that was one of the things I prided myself on in college, man. I didn't really fumble in college or anything like that, just strength, being able to protect the rock when getting tackled and stuff.
What do you remember, if anything, about watching Thanksgiving football growing up?
I remember, just being one of those games that you just, everybody around the family just sitting around the TV, eating good food and get to watch football. I mean, I think it's only like 2 teams who play that day, and it's just one of those things that, everybody going to be watching, so it's pretty cool.
Because, protecting football when you run, the punch has become a much bigger thing now. how aware are you of which teams do that more? Because it looks like some teams try that tack a little bit more than others.
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware of it, but I really don't even think about it too much. I always pride myself on taking care of the football. Even if teams punch at it and do all type of stuff, every team try to, get it out.
This is Patrick's first NFL game back home. What was any advice that you have for him from like the first time you played back in Cleveland?
Man, just keep your emotions in line and just go out there and have fun, man. You're gonna have everybody, your family, probably has 100 tickets if I would have to guess.
You were more involved in the passing game too on Sunday. Are you trying to sort of advocate to get more touches in the passing game as well, just to diversify the offense?
Whenever my number's called, I'll just try to make the play. So if that's throwing me the ball, handing it, every opportunity I get, I try to make the most of it.
Thanks, Kareem. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
All right, there's Kareem Hunt, and yeah, when his number's called, it was called a lot in that game, man. They ran 91 actual plays. He got a third of them. Like, it's one thing to get a third of the plays when it's like, you ran 30 plays in this game. Oh, you got 10 touches. Okay. Still got the ball handed to him 30 times in the game, man. God. I mean, they were talking about it that, Kareem Hunt, that guy's a warrior, wants to win, and there's no doubt about that, man. He also got 3 catches. So you got 33 touches out of the 91 official plays in the game. Yeah, pretty crazy. And 8 years between lost fumbles. That first carry of his career in which he fumbled and lost it there with the Chiefs back in 2017. And then on Sunday against the Colts. Now, he's lost some he's fumbled the ball, but not lost it. Been a couple times it's hit the ground, but losing a fumble, 8 years in between that for a guy that's carried the ball over 1,300 times? That's crazy.
I was in middle school the last time that Kareem Hunt fumbled.
That is crazy. Let's see. That would have been September of 17. My son was 1. He turned 10. I know he's about to turn 2. You get the whole thing of how it works. But at that particular specific time, he was only 1. Okay? But, man, you were in middle school in 2017?
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. That's Michael Darcy. Graduated last week. Congrats. From high school, Michael. But, man, that's... And it's one thing that, he fumbled, and I'm like, he was down. Because he doesn't fumble. He was down. And in that moment to think, that dude is an inch away from his helmet touching the ground and the Chiefs keeping possession of the ball. And instead it's a fumble. This is not the Chiefs' year. And you would go back and you would say, yet again, Chiefs throw an interception in their own, 10-yard line. The Colts start at the 3 after a turnover. The Chiefs fumble the football away inside the 10. They have to settle for field goals. They have a touchdown taken off the board. That's 4 points. We look at the overall numbers and people are like, this thing could have been a blowout. Some of those EPA numbers and running and passing and success rate and Patrick Mahomes versus Daniel Jones and, defensively. And it's all dominant for the Chiefs. And it's well, how was this game even close? Because all of these things point to a blowout. And then you've got Colts fans, which are this thing shouldn't have been a blowout. Colts controlled the game the entire game. Chiefs did not lead for 1 second of that game. The only time they led is when the ball went through the uprights at the end of the game in overtime. Played 70 minutes of football. Chiefs didn't lead for a second. So no, the Colts controlled that game. And it's well, yeah, the Colts controlled the game from the standpoint of the Chiefs continually making mistakes or also making mistakes while the other teams earned that. The interception, that was a phenomenal play. Zaire Franklin ripping the ball out of Kareem Hunt's hands, rare for that to happen. Great play. Juwan Taylor being called for a face mask, the Colts didn't do anything for that. They didn't do anything to earn that. Juwan Taylor grabbed the guy's head and, pulled it towards him. But he didn't grab an opening, but it also felt like it was kind of a hold. It's it would have been a hold anyway. Oh, okay, so we're calling those. So let's go back to 3rd and 1. when it was 17-9, and Jonathan Taylor in the third quarter had that 26-yard run on 3rd and 1. And let's go watch 81 for the Colts and the bear hug he puts on Leo Chenal. Like, if we want to go that route, certainly we can, because, Mo Alley Cox, that hole is opened up. That's where Leo Chenal should be. And he's trying to get there, but Mo Alley Cox is hugging him and pulling him to his left, to Chanel's right, which leaves that hole vacant and wide open. But you got to overcome. You overcome those things, right? Chiefs hadn't overcome those. They haven't overcame. They have not overcome those things in the previous 4 losses, and they did this time. Some of the wins, they overcame them, but they also had dominant victories. But this feel of, boy, this felt like it was a much more lopsided game than numbers after the fact. But that's why the game is not played on paper. That's why you got to go out there and actually play the game. Because those plays have to be made. And on Thursday, those plays have to be made. I think the Chiefs on Thursday, and Steve Spagnuolo was asked about this with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens and what they're going up against on Thursday. And Steve Spagnuolo said, they're 2 big dudes. You got to try to mix it up defensively, but what makes them great is that you can't double team one of them, because then the other has a big game. And the last time the Chiefs saw George Pickens, he was quitting on Christmas. That's what my dad did back in the day. Was quitting on Christmas. I'm joking. Guy was quitting on Christmas. Who quits on Christmas? Even the Grinch works. He's just stealing stuff. You don't quit on Christmas. But George Pickens stopped playing. And that interception for Justin Reed. And now he's playing like one of the best receivers in the league that's going to get a massive contract. And I can make the argument, I think some people would make the argument, that George Pickens, the way he's playing right now, is the best receiver the Chiefs have played this year. And CeeDee Lamb is the second best receiver the Chiefs have played this year. And that's going to be on one field. Because while they've gone up against good receivers, they haven't gone up against a couple of players who can take over games. George Pickens the last 2 weeks, 18 receptions, 300 and something yards, multiple touchdowns, huge catches. He's not just being wide open, like he's making contested catches, one-handed catches. Like the guy is a star when he keeps his bleep together and he keeps it between the ears. The guy's a star. Do we think it's going to be a little bit before Chris Jones?
With Chris Jones, there's always a chance.
Okay, so should we take a break? Because I think it might be a little bit here. All right, so we're going to take a break, and we'll come back, and we will hear from Chris Jones. Text saying that it's going to be a little bit before Chris Jones gets there. So there you go. We'll be back right after this. More Zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Well, we're talking about that game on Thursday and the 3 T's of Thanksgiving: turkey for eating, table for gathering, and, of course, touchdowns for winning. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown can bring you closer to cashing in. With DraftKings Sportsbook, all the action is in your hands. First touchdowns, anytime touchdowns, live bets along the way. Every play, every snap, every game counts. And here's the best part. New customers bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. When touchdowns happen, we feast. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code 810WHB. That's code 810WHB. Bet $5. Get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Mercedes-Benz of Kansas City is South Kansas City's home for an amazing selection and unmatched quality pre-owned vehicles. You can choose from a wide selection of Mercedes-Benz factory-certified pre-owned vehicles with their unlimited mileage warranty. Now, whether it's a GLA or GLS, they've got the SUV to fit your family, whether they're around town or on vacation. Mercedes-Benz of Kansas City also offers to its customers.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Let's head out to Arrowhead. We hear from Chris Jones at the podium.
Last but not least, Chris Jones.
Chris, asked Spags just about your influence on the game, and he said he thinks it started in practice over the last couple of weeks. I just wondered if something maybe has changed that prompted that you've noticed a couple of weeks of practice ahead of this as well.
I think I've been pretty consistent. Just more so, there's a sense of urgency that practice need to be approached with, also the game. So, I'm just doing my 111.
The urgency you talk about, I kind of was watching the game on Sunday. Several guys got nicked up, getting back in the game. I mean, did you feel that nobody wanted to get out of this game on Sunday, how important it was?
I think that's every game. I think we have a few players that never come out super healthy after a game. It's physical. But commend those guys for fighting through whatever they're going through.
You're going to see your old college buddy down here, right? What do you think about Dak? When you guys played together?
We win a lot. He's a great leader. But yeah, good guy.
Anybody else?
Chris, just what for you is sort of the biggest physical challenge to being ready Thursday after Sunday with the short turnarounds? You guys have done them before, but what is it? What do you have to do to be really ready?
I think rest. Make sure you're resting. It's more so like recovering. Get in the tubs. Hydrate with Holmes water. And, do the day-to-day things to keep your body loose. Stay off your legs.
Is it a mental grind, too? I mean, it's just, you have to really already be trying to work with your sort of psychology of being ready Thursday?
No, I stay ready, so I don't have to get ready.
You guys have been a better team just at home this season, Chris, than on the road. Any reason why you feel like that's happened, and is there anything that you guys feel like you want to prove in a road game of this importance?
As in to proving something, I think we just want to win. It's always easier to play at home when you have the home field advantage. I think that goes in effect, but, we got to start pulling some road games off. I think this is the best time to do that against a really, really great Dallas team.
Were you a NFL Thanksgiving watcher when you were a kid? Did you watch these games with the family?
Yeah, every once in a while I would. I mean, the Cowboys play every Thanksgiving, so I was very familiar with that. Was a huge Cowboys fan growing up.
What were your favorite Cowboy teams and the players?
Terrell Owens. T.O. going to the T.O., Tony Romo. Barber, running back. I love that Cowboys team.
This is a little off the field, I guess. You previously in the past, you have an affinity for Thanksgiving pies. Is that something that you'll save for Friday this year?
I'm staying away from all sweets, man. I'm staying away from all sugar sweets. Trying to make sure I make weight this week.
We always people always say hydrate, right? We're supposed to hydrate too. You drink your water and you come out here. What is hydrating for you? I mean, how many ounces of water are you doing to hydrate?
So I usually drink a bottle of Holstein water. It looks like it comes in a vodka bottle. I try a game. I know I usually do 4 to 5. Practice I usually do 3 to 4. Then at home, I keep 2 beside the bed just in case. Arms reach, pop it open. Probably a day, probably 6 to 8 of those bottles. Yeah, it's not bad. But I'm very active and maybe in the steam room. I'm sweating water out, just continue to replenish. So probably 7 to 8 bottles.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, guys.
All right, there you go, Chris Jones. My wife would be so proud of him. It's like, Jason, you need to drink more water. I'll get around to it. There's water in tea, right? There's water in cherry Coke. There's water in coffee, right? That dude's drinking 300 ounces a day. Good night. That big vodka bottle, even if we're saying that's 40 ounces, which it might be even more than that. That's going to be bigger. I think that's more than 40. Even if we're being conservative, 40 ounces, 6 to 8 a day, that's 240 to 320 ounces of water per day. And he said, I am more active than other people. true. That is right. We'll take a time out, come back. More Zone next. You know, we're talking about the T's of Thanksgiving, the 3 T's. There's turkey, that's for eating. There's tables, that's for gathering. And there are touchdowns for winning. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown can bring you closer to cashing in. With DraftKings Sportsbook, all the action is in your hands. First touchdown, any touchdown, live bets. And the first touchdown scores, Javonte Williams is the leader in that one right now. Then Rashee Rice, then Travis Kelce, then Kareem Hunt. So they're like, it's either Javonte Williams or it's going to be any number of these Chiefs players with Rashee or Travis or Kareem Hunt. And we'll see what happens with that. And the live bet certainly can change along the way. Every play, every snap, every game counts. And here's the best part. New customers bet $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. When touchdowns happen, we feast. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code 810WHB. That's code 810WHB. Bet $5. Get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, Kansas only. Eligibility and restrictions apply. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
All right, wrapping things up here in this hour. Coming up in the next hour, we'll talk with Myron Metcalf from ESPN, our college basketball insider. He is there in Vegas with the Players Era tournament going on right now. Notre Dame all over Rutgers. Iowa State getting ready to be in action against Creighton. That is starting in just a little bit out there in Vegas. So we will talk with Myron Metcalf, talk a little Chiefs football before the show is over. On ESPN Kansas City, KU pregame is starting on ESPN Kansas City with that tip-off at 2:30 against Syracuse. At 2 o'clock, we will join that pregame after we are done here. But one more hour to go here on this Tuesday edition of The Zone. We'll be talking with Myron Metcalf, college basketball insider, coming up next. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Michael Darcy. We head up until 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, we will join the KU pregame in progress. Over on ESPN Kansas City right now is the KU pregame. 2:30 is when that tip takes place against Syracuse, as the Jayhawks are 1-0, and they are in a pod with 9 other teams. And Tennessee is 1-0, Houston's 1-0, Gonzaga's 1-0, Maryland's 1-0 in those games. Tennessee and Houston play each other today. Gonzaga, Maryland against each other. We'll see, and we'll find out what time KU plays tomorrow, probably at midnight tonight. We'll see. Let's talk with Myron Metcalf from ESPN, our college basketball insider, joining us here in the zone. Myron, what's up, brother? How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I just got my pregame shopping in. I went to the Adidas store. That's always like my tradition when I come to Vegas for games. So
nice.
Was happy with that, man. So I'm in good spirit.
There you go, man. It's crazy what's happening with the Players Era tournament. You know, Myron, I spent the first part of the show today talking about what I feel like is maybe a landmark sort of move in college basketball moving forward, in that, you know, in college football, Myron, for years, conferences have teamed up with bowl games at the end of the year. And it's like, okay, well, this conference goes to this bowl game. And you don't do that, obviously, with college basketball. But for the first time, we see a non-conference tournament that's teamed up with a conference. 5 years, $50 million with the Players Era and Kansas. Is this a big deal in college basketball moving forward with the Big 12 and the Players Era? And do we think we'll see more of this as it goes along?
I think it's a gigantic deal. I mean, you know, Brett Yormark, the one thing when you first talked to him when he got the job was he wanted to be innovative, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're just seeing more of that. I mean, this is a guy who's worked with Jay-Z and all these other artists in his past life. And I think they had this equity deal. I think people are going to be playing catch-up to this because we're in the rev share era. Yep. And the numbers are only going to increase, right? Schools are doing everything they can to figure out NIL. How do you still present these valid NIL deals with the new rules? But rev share is going to be there no matter what. So you're going to have to keep making more and more money. And I think the Big 12 is kind of just ahead of the game and putting themselves in this field. I mean, my guess, if I could predict, every league will latch on to Players Era at some point in the next couple of years. And we're going to have a November, maybe into December, NCAA tournament-like event before conference play.
Yeah, and I think it's great for college basketball. Some people may disagree. Look, I think...
Why do they disagree, Jason?
Well,
you know why? Because they're old and boring. And I'm not saying old in terms of age, okay?
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of older people who are innovative and a lot of older people who, you know, have the right mentality. But in terms of how they think, they're so old-fashioned. Like, what do y'all want to bring back? 4 corners? You want to bring back hook shots? You want to bring back people playing in low tops? Like, I just, this idea where people are like, it's bad for the sport. What are y'all talking about? Do you want to win or not? Like, what are these teams supposed to do if they can't make more money? The talent won't be there, and then those same fans are going to complain about why their team can't compete with the best in the country. I just can't stand the hypocrisy in our sports. Football is praised and beloved. When college football teams say, we got to invest more in football, everybody stands up and cheers. But when college basketball is like, we got to invest more in our sport, people are like, well, wait a minute. It's going against tradition. Tradition from 1958? What are y'all talking about? Like, this is what you have to do to win. I'm sorry for my rant, but I've heard this all week, and as someone who is here, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's outdated, and I think it's just the wrong mentality. If your school has that mentality, you're going to lose. You're going to get left behind in this new world.
And I think there was some, like last year, I could understand maybe a little bit of people doubting it going into last year when we hadn't seen it before. And they said, no, we're going to write you these checks. And people were saying, I don't know that you can afford to do that. And are you actually going to be good for the money? And then the tournament gets over and the next day the money is to the schools. And so it's like, okay, that should have been the first indication that they're not just joking around. Also, the fact that the guy who's, you know, coming up with this tournament is the one that started and won. Like, he's not just throwing darts at night, you know, like, oh, let me just see if something sticks. Like, the guy clearly knows what he's doing, has a marketing aspect of it. So I think it's absolutely going to stay around. I love it for college basketball. I hear some people, you know, lament well, what's this going to do to Maui and Atlantis and the ESPN events and Charleston and some of those tournaments? And I would say then figure out an NIL part of it. If you're going to do that, figure out something that the that the Players Era has figured out if you can do that, because that's what's going to be offered to these teams. And I look, if conferences don't sign on with this or find their own sort of tournament that they can then go and market and sell, then they're going to be left behind, and there's going to be all these teams that are going to be trying to negotiate. And I'll bet you, Myron, there's going to be a team or two that tells the Player Era, we'll play for free this year just so we can get the invite next year and start earning money.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, people are sending texts, I'm sure, just to try to get into the mix, right? Because I think it is this innovative idea, and it just makes sense for the landscape that we're in right now. You know, people were saying, oh, is the money going to clear? What do people know about $1 million transactions and you ain't got $500 in the bank? Like, what were we going to know about this money? And who are we to doubt where that money just going to show up? You telling me the University of Kansas and Houston and all these prestigious universities didn't have their money people to check everything out to make sure it was good for them? You think they just flew out to Las Vegas hoping? Like, come on. And here's the Maui thing, and I've been to Maui. Like, Maui's a beautiful tournament. The Maui Invitational is an amazing event, and I hope everybody gets a chance to go. Here's the problem I have with what's happening on social media. The folks who are complaining about Maui are the 1%ers who either have jobs that get them there or have the money and resources to fly to Maui to go participate in these games. You know who doesn't have that money? Most people. You know, most families can't get out to Maui and haven't been able to get out to Maui to support their team, support their players. Yet the 1% is the loudest on social media saying, I can't believe what's going to happen to Maui. Maui has to innovate like everywhere else. But this privileged perspective, and I'm privileged. I'm one of the 1%ers, right? I'm one of those people that's been everywhere. Who are we to say, oh, my goodness, what's happening with Maui when we're among the few who actually had an opportunity to enjoy these opportunities? Vegas clearly is more accessible, right? Most people can get to Vegas rather easily. It's a great place for sporting events. It's a city that's built for sporting events. We're sitting here walking between our hotels and the arena. No Ubers, no cabs, nothing. Fans are walking around everywhere. Like, there are advantages to being here. But a lot of people talking about Maui, man, are talking about Maui because they're saying, I'm a fan or I'm a sports reporter with a job that sends me there. I can't believe I don't get to go back. Well, what about all the fans who never had a chance to get there? This, to me, feels like a great opportunity, maybe even a better opportunity for fans to come and support their teams.
100%. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, if Missouri were in the Players Era tournament, who, I've never been to Maui to see them play in there because they don't play in it. You got to be, consistently good to get an invite there. But I know that there was a conversation that Missouri was having with the Players Era tournament for 2026, and somehow those talks broke down one way or another, one side or the other. So they're not going to be a part of the field for next year. But it would absolutely be something I would think about. If Missouri ever played in the Maui, it'd be awesome to go. I just know with 2 kids, I'm not going. Right? I'm not going to get there. But in Vegas with a couple of kids, oh, hey, the kids can stay at your aunt and uncle's, and mommy and daddy are going to go out there for like a 2 or 3 day trip to Vegas, watch Mizzou play some basketball, hang out, go see a show or something, head back to Kansas City.
And that's the mentality, right? Like the people who are saying, oh, my goodness, Maui. Again, it's a bunch of sports writers. It's a bunch of sports people who have jobs that pay for them to go to Maui, right? Or it's a bunch of people who have the resources to go to Maui for a week. You know how much it costs to go to Maui for a week and just watch basketball? And then you got to get tickets to this thing. And it's a beautiful moment. It's a beautiful experience, man. My sister lived in Maui, on Maui for years. But, people talk about that little tiny gym. It is amazing if you get a chance to see it. But you know who's not in that gym? 99% of the fans of those teams because they can't afford it. So part of this is being in a sport that doesn't like change. And here's the reality. You got 2 choices in this current climate. You can say, I'm going to stick to tradition, and you and I can name the schools right now that have stuck to tradition, and they're 5 years behind, and they're trying to play catch-up. Or we can say, you got to get with the times, and you have to innovate and adjust. Like, that's the only option. There's no gray area in this thing. And I think the Big 12 is saying, we want to be a part of something that we think is taken off. There's a financial component of this, and it's good for everybody involved as we're trying to find ways to make money.
Myron Metcalf is our guest. The one of the things that I thought was really innovative about it, too, is, the NIL structure has continued to change, where it was collectives, then it was sort of like just give them money. And then you got the rev share, and now you've got the new, ways of going through NIL with the new groups and, not NCAA, but CSC and whatever those things are called. What I thought was really interesting about this is you've got the pre-approved NIL deals. So when you get to Vegas as you're part of one of these teams, if you're doing an NIL deal with them, it's already been pre-approved to the NCAA. So you don't have to worry about, am I doing this right? Is the check going to clear? And to me, that's sort of another bonus that, like, if I'm KU or K-State, they finish in the top 8 of the Big 12 this year, they're in the tournament next year. And so if I'm Jerome Tang or Bill Self and I'm saying, here's the NIL package we can offer you to come here. Also, we're playing in the Eras tournament, the Players Era tournament in Vegas. So, you might be one of the guys that we put up for NIL deals to do some marketing and some social media stuff for them out there. And they're going to write you a check when you get back.
Yeah. It's valid. And then think about the players. How many of these players have NIL opportunities while they're in town? Like Kyan Anthony at Syracuse, they just announced his Jordan brand deal while he's here. That's not coincidence. Like, this is a place where everyone can capitalize, where everyone can do well for themselves. Kelvin Sampson said the quiet part out loud. He said, I'm here for the money.
Yeah.
Everybody said, how could you say that? Because it's true.
Right.
$1 million is a ton of money. It's always been a ton of money. But in this climate, it's impossible to turn that money down if you're a college basketball team that's trying to make sure that you can afford to field a roster. And everything, like you said, NCAA approved. I think the fact that you can have everyone kind of in one place. I'm at the Park MGM. That's where all the teams are. That's where all the coaches are. You literally walk 15 minutes across the road, and you're at the arena. So there's a convenience component of this, too, that I think just kind of works for everybody, man. And I think the atmospheres have been good. You're not selling out the arena. I get that, but the atmospheres have been good. I think everybody's enjoying themselves. And Bill Self said it best. You get a chance to play so many top teams here, and you get a chance to see who you are, I think, early in the season.
Yeah, and also, like, people are looking at like, well, it's such a big deal. There's empty seats. Well, the NCAA tournament's a big deal, and there are empty seats in those arenas too. And guess what the NCAA is doing? Making a lot of money on that tournament, with empty seats or not. So it's that TV rights deal. Myron Metcalf is our guest. You mentioned Bill Self being there. You asked the question yesterday, which I thought was interesting, about the non-conference scheduling of this. And look, I don't think Bill Self would do this schedule again if he had to, with this team, especially if how could you know Darren Peterson ain't going to play? But, he's playing an ACC schedule and a Big 12 schedule all in one. But I wonder, moving forward, Myron, how do you think this impacts this non-con scheduling with these teams that'll be there? Because it's a 3-week thing next year and moving forward, but also there's a chance you could play an extra game, but you don't know if you play that extra game or not. Like, that to me is an interesting twist on this, because then do you have to go and buy out of a contract for a bye game? Do you have to then include a bye game if you didn't have one set? How do you think it affects that standpoint of maybe some non-conference scheduling that now coaches either don't have to do, or you got to have like a placeholder?
You hit the word. I mean, there are going to be a bunch of teams on schedules of these teams in the years ahead who are about to get some pretty checks to never play these games.
Never play the game, yeah.
Because there's just no way to do it. There's no way. If you're Bill Self, you can't have the schedule you have this year going forward. If you have 5 Darren Petersons, you just can't put your team in a situation where they're playing at champions, and then they're playing here, and then you're playing North Carolina. Like, I think teams are smart to say, we're going to play in an event like this, maybe one other major event, a couple other big-time matchups, and then you got to just cruise into conference play. And I don't think anyone can fault these teams. So I just think you're going to see teams go from events like this to, playing some kind of low-level teams, and then I think the better teams on their schedule, if it's not the North Carolinas of the world, I think those mid-majors probably get hurt the most. Because I think those are some of the games where it's like, all right, do you really want to play that feisty mid-major after coming off this schedule and everything that comes with that? But I think you have to rethink scheduling if you're going to participate in an event like this, especially with the unknowns.
What do you think of the teams like Creighton and let's say UNLV, San Diego State, St. John's? When we get into rev sharing and the $20 million that's going to be split up, some percentage between football and basketball, and maybe 15% going to basketball, 75% going to football. What I find interesting about playing in this tournament is those teams aren't going to get to the $20 million revenue sharing because they don't have football. But the $1 million you throw in there is that's just going to go straight to the basketball team. They don't have to worry about, here's $1 million. Well, we're already at our $20 million rev share, so we've got to figure out how to do this over here and that. From that standpoint, if you're St. John's or Creighton, you're like, cool, there's $1 million right in our revenue sharing that goes straight to basketball that we don't have to worry about. Now we can simply pay a player and not have to worry about NIL with that.
No, those Big East schools have an advantage.
Yeah.
They do, right? I mean, I've heard that Grand Canyon University has $10 million. Like, those schools without football have an advantage. They can just pour money into football nonstop, and I do think it's going to be interesting to see how that works out in the years ahead.
All right,
go
ahead. No, go ahead.
At the same time, I think if you're a Kansas, Kentucky, you can also sell the NIL value attached to this, right? So you're going to have schools where, I can't give you maybe what Creighton can give you one lump sum. However, the NIL transactions attached to the brand could still be a big deal. But if you're a Creighton or St. John's, if you're really any school, like I don't know how you look at the players there and say, keep your $1 million. Like, I think eventually everyone who gets invited will say yes because the money will keep going up and the rev share numbers will keep going up. So I'm not sure how you turn that down.
A couple quick ones for you, Myron. KU and Syracuse, 2:30 today. What do we know about Syracuse? I didn't get a chance to watch much of the game yesterday. I know they missed 17 free throws. I doubt that happens again today. But what do we think about Syracuse in this matchup with Kansas today?
They punched back against the best defense in America yesterday without their best player. Donnie Freeman, the big man, sophomore, out, 17 points per game, lower leg injury. He didn't play. And yet they're down 11 with 3 minutes to play. They stormed back to force overtime. I think Syracuse has some heart. I think if you're Bill Self, you see that game, and you're definitely worried because they just proved something to themselves yesterday. And you leave here with a win over Kansas, that's going to mean a lot for your resume. You don't have your best player. So I think this is going to be an interesting matchup. If Syracuse can come out with the heart they showed yesterday and make some more free throws, this could be a tough game. I also think Kansas is kind of coming up with a new identity without Darren Peterson. Like Floyd Badunga and all these guys are just kind of playing maybe not finesse basketball, but it's tough and it's effective and it's aggressive. And I think that's how they got the win in such a dominant fashion yesterday. So two teams without their best guys, but two teams that have also found new identities without them.
All right, last one for you. What do you think of K-State and Indiana? K-State going on the road to Assembly Hall. Indiana's undefeated with the Marquette game that they played. Marquette, not the Marquette team we've seen of past, and K-State only one loss on the resume. That was a 1-point loss to Nebraska here in Kansas City. What do you make of this matchup tonight?
Now, this is why you pay P.J. Haggerty, right? I mean, I think this is the P.J. Haggerty Bowl. I think people have forgotten about him in a weird way now that he's at K-State, but I think this could be one of those opportunities to say, hey, I'm still here. I'm one of the better players in the country. Indiana, a lot of new pieces, new coaching staff. So I think it's a good test for both teams early. But P.J. Haggerty, I mean, this is kind of why you signed the check to get a guy like that because he helps you compete in moments like this.
Myron Metcalf from ESPN. Myron, you're the man. Appreciate it, brother. Let you get to the arenas. Iowa State up by 4 on Creighton right now. Sorry if I spoiled that for you, Myron, if you were DVRing that to watch it from the beginning. But
No, I appreciate it. And sorry for the rant, man. I
love it.
Everybody open your minds a little bit, man.
I love it.
Stop all this old school stuff. Get a VCR and go have a nap. All right, man.
All right, brother. There's Myron Metcalf. Great stuff from him as always. I love it, man. Like, look, we talked about it the first part of the show. I think it was historic yesterday with what it could mean for college basketball, what it means for the Big 12. Like K-State, finish in the top 8 this year. Like that's a nugget, like a carrot to strive for if you're Jerome Tang. Like if you've got a game or two at the end of the season and you're sitting 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th around there, those are massive games because you're talking about $1 million maybe on the line in a game at the early March before the Big 12 tournament. Like those are big-time basketball games that throw a little element in there because we know in college basketball, I mean, $1 million can be a phenomenal player. I mean, you can go get a damn good player for $1 million. You win that last game, you finish 8th, now you're going to the players' area, and now you're getting $1 million. And you can also sell to recruits the NIL part of, hey, when we get there, they've got the NIL opportunities that are there that are already cleared with the NCAA. So these are good to go. Write you a check. Right there, if you come and play here. I think it's big for the Big 12, and I'm not sure why other conferences turn down the opportunity. Brett Yormark has talked about the different ways that he's going to make the Big 12 more advanced and to see what the future is going to be. And this is the future of these non-conference tournaments. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. You know, the future of men's health continues to be advanced at Heartland Men's Health. And if you are somebody that is suffering from erectile dysfunction, you know, the stresses that can go along with that. And it is the season where stresses are even more. You know, you feel close to people, you got family, you got all these things going on. And the last thing you want to worry about is ED. And so you go to Heartland Men's Health, and they'll see if they can help you out with that. You know, you schedule a consult with Heartland Men's Health today. Your initial visit is $99. That includes a medical consult with a licensed medical provider. You get the T and PSA test, and if medically advised, you get a test dose. And if the test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Maybe you've tried the pills or the herbals, and they have failed. If that's the case, they have treatments that work when the pills or the herbals fail. In fact, they have treatments with success rates well over 90%. There's no need to wait. An expert staff with 3 locations to serve you: Overland Park, Independence between Blue Springs and Lee Summit, and North Kansas City. Call them today, 844-447-6600. Tell them you heard about it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, 844-447-6600, or visit heartlandmenshealth.com. All right, we'll continue. Thank you to Myron Metcalf from ESPN, College Basketball Insider. All 3 local schools in action. Mizzou taking on South Carolina State. I don't know. I know they're 33.5-point favorites tonight. We heard a lot from the Kansas City Chiefs earlier today. I thought it was I started doubting myself that it was South Carolina State because I'm like, I thought they were playing Cleveland State tonight. But they play Cleveland State on Friday. Because I'm like, I thought this was one of those where it's the Dennis Gates game. Like, that's pretty sure. I'm like, oh, that's right. That's Friday. So South Carolina State tonight, Cleveland State, and then some other state that they'll end up playing.
I was going to say, you
that.
guys just play all the states.
Just play the states, man. Come on, play the states. There's 50 of them, plus Cleveland. So there's 51, but you can't play your own, so there's 50 states that you can play. Throw Puerto Rico in there. You know what I mean? Even some territories. Let's have some fun with that. KU taking on Syracuse coming up about an hour from now. Right now on ESPN Kansas City, it is the KU pregame taking place. If you want to hear that, that is on ESPN Kansas City. And then K-State in action tonight against Indiana, which, by the way, K-State is a 10.5-point dog tonight at Assembly Hall. And if you look at, I like to look at Ken Pom and what they think of the different lines, because if you want to know what tomorrow's line is going to be in college basketball, well, you got to wait till tomorrow to see it. But Ken Pom is really close. Like Mizzou, South Carolina State, Vegas is at 33.5. Ken Pom's at 32. KU and Syracuse, Vegas has it as KU favored by 3.5. Ken Pom has it as a 4-point win for KU. But the K-State game is interesting because K-State's a 10.5-point dog and Ken Pom has it as a 7-point game. Now, he has Indiana winning by 7, but that's 3.5-point difference that usually he's a point, maybe a 1.5 off from what the line is. So if you care about those sort of things, it feels like there's some value there, but also we don't know what K-State's going to look like on the road at Assembly Hall. I will say from an exhibition standpoint, K-State did go to Mizzou in the exhibition season and play on the road there. And so going to Assembly Hall won't be the first time they have taken a road trip against a Power 5 team, Power 4 team, a Power 5 team with the Big East. So Power 5 team in college basketball. They've had, obviously, the neutral sites and things like that. But I'll be really interested to see what K-State does tonight against Indiana, because Indiana jumped into the top 25. They are number 25 in the AP poll. And I think K-State is right there. They're close with that just 1 point lost to Nebraska, in which they covered that spread because that thing was 1.5. So they covered the spread. What are you going to do? 913-912-4810 is the text line. We didn't get into a whole lot of breaking down the Chiefs and the press conferences because we immediately, talked to Myron Metcalf. And I think what's going to be fascinating in this is who can be better at what they do well on Thursday. So did the Dallas Cowboys play better in what is sort of the base parts of their game? Or can the Kansas City Chiefs execute at a high enough level? Because, even Steve Spagnuolo saying, yeah, they've got some game plan stuff that they put in against the Cowboys earlier this year, but you only have a couple of days to look at what the Cowboys are doing now with a couple of new pieces on their team, a pretty damn good defensive tackle, to where do you want to throw a wrinkle in here or there? You only got a couple of days to do it. Now, the Cowboys are the same thing. They only have a couple of days to throw in a wrinkle here or there. And the Chiefs showed them a lot of under center. There was a lot of runs from under center for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I had mentioned this last week before the game, that this anomaly, this crazy, that, on second down this year, the Kansas City Chiefs had run the ball on second down under center 0 times since they played the Commanders. They run 17 of those plays before or after the Commanders game. They did that 17 times. Not a lot, but it's also not 0. They had 0 against the Bills and against the Broncos. And then they go up against the Colts, and they were going under center a lot. That's time on task for the Cowboys to get used to that little wrinkle. And so Spags talking about it from his perspective. What are the wrinkles they put in defensively to go up against this Cowboys team? But do the Cowboys, are they able to spend enough time figuring out where some of those blitzes can come from? And that's going to be a part of this, is how well does the secondary play? Because, Pickens and CeeDee Lamb scare the heck out of you. They're so damn good. They're big. The catch radius is there. They catch everything. I know CeeDee's, had some struggles, but in that game. But, I mean, they catch pretty much everything. CeeDee Lamb ain't going to have another game where he, plays like that anytime soon. And you even hear Schottenheimer after the game is like, no, we're going to keep feeding. We're going to keep throwing it to CeeDee Lamb. even though George Pickens has been amazing the last couple of weeks. CeeDee Lamb's going to get the football. And what would the line be? What would the feeling around Kansas City be if the Eagles held on to win? Now, Dallas could also say this from their perspective and say, well, what would it be if, the Colts held on to win? Would the Chiefs be favored by 3.5 points in this game? But what would we be thinking about this Chiefs team if the Eagles held on to win and the Chiefs played like, or the scoreboard looked like what the underlying numbers looked like in that game? The turnovers inside your own 10 and then inside the 10-yard line of the Colts. Both your turnovers came in that drastic of an area to where you take points off the board for you and you put 7 points on the board for them. That's at minimum a 7-point swing or a 10-point swing. You gave them 7 and you took off at least 3. It might have been 14. But even if you're conservative and say that's 10, and then you take 4 points off the board for, touching somebody's helmet, and there was some grabbiness. Jawan Taylor got pretty handsy. He got pretty handsy there with Travis Kelce, making it through to the end zone. Jawan Taylor didn't need to be handsy there, but he was. So they get the penalty. That's 4 points taken off the board. Missed 14 points. I know it doesn't work like that because the Colts are going to say, well, you got this and that, and then you was gifted a field goal. It was roughing the passers. You can't hit Patrick Mahomes roughing the passer. In what world is that roughing the passer? The world if you've ever watched football the last 3 years, you jackasses. It's one thing to complain about what seems to be a missed call, but when that is the call for every single quarterback, it's easy to see. If you hit the quarterback and your hands stay under him, it's a flag. If your hands are out, it's not. If you hit the player below the waist, it is a penalty. If you hit the quarterback diving at his knees below the waist, you hear the Colts announcer going, Puh. I mean, he hit him above the knees. But you know what? Patrick Mahomes doing a little, floppy thing. Like, shut up, dude. Be a professional. Instead of complaining about, Patrick Mahomes getting 2 roughing the passers called by the Colts radio announcers. Those are roughing the passers in every game this year. And you tell a lot by how much football other fan bases watch when they play the Chiefs for the first time. And then you get the response of, Patrick Mahomes is the most protected quarterback in the league, and it's not even close. It's not even close. It's not even close. He's the most protected and beyond anybody else. It's like, man, can you watch something besides your team and then hate watching the Chiefs? Unless your team is the Bills, then you would, or Patriots, then you would understand that actually Josh Allen is the most protected quarterback. And Patrick Mahomes, the numbers just simply do not back it up that he's the most protected quarterback. But it doesn't matter. He's the quarterback of the most hated team in the NFL right now. So any penalty against him will say that is a protected quarterback. But I get it. There's some complaints there, whatever. The numbers showed a dominant performance that didn't show up on the scoreboard. But that has been a symptom of the Chiefs this year. The scoreboard, oftentimes, especially in these losses, hasn't necessarily matched what felt like some of the play on the field. Outside of the Chargers game and the Bills game, and I think to a large degree the Broncos game. Although watching some of those things back in the All-22, you kind of get annoyed or frustrated and see how many points were left out there on the field with just missed opportunities offensively. That we can talk about how great the Denver Broncos defense is, but man, there were opportunities there against that defense. There were guys open at certain times. There was a breakdown in protection on a certain time when a guy was open, maybe not running the ball enough, things like that. And so you can't just go into a game and say, well, this is, if you just do this and this differently along the way. But I do think it's a different feeling around here heading into the Cowboys game if the Chiefs don't have a couple of big mistakes there. And it's a capital I and a capital F, and it's what they've done this year. And maybe I'm just looking at it from my own perspective because I've got real concerns about the Cowboys game on Thanksgiving. I didn't have a whole lot of confidence heading into that Colts game. I talked about it last week, Michael. I ended up picking them to win because I said, you know what, until they're dead, I'm not going to pick them to die. So I'm going to stay and picked the Chiefs to win. I think I had it 28-24. I think you had it 24-20, Michael. So
I was close.
Well done. Nice job. You win a shout-out on the radio. So nice job. You had it Matt Derrick had it 24-21. Kendall Gammon had 24-21. You had 24-20. So you guys were all close in that realm. But the confidence I had in that Colts game was based on they're at home, and I just can't see the Chiefs not winning this game when so much is on the line. A short week with a team that's been mistake-prone, like the Chiefs have, penalty-prone,
banged up.
Like, yeah, I can see them going into Thanksgiving, going to Dallas, and losing that game against a team that feels like they are ascending, like they are heading in the right direction with new players and healthier players, getting bodies back and getting new players, whereas it still feels like the Chiefs are scratching and clawing to try to gain some sort of ground and some footing while trying to climb the mountain to get back into the playoff hunt. And that just, it worries me. And you know what? Last Friday, I said the Chiefs can be 6-6 this time next week, as long as it's Colts win and Cowboys loss, because then they have 3 games. They got a half bye week against the Texans at home, Chargers at home, who are also playing on a shorter week, Titans on the road. You can be 6-6 waking up on Friday and look up and say you're 9-6 if you take care of business at home, with another Raiders game at the end of the season, which can make you 10-6, which the playoffs could come down to a Christmas Day game against the Broncos at home and a little bit of a revenge. Saturday's game, I think, kills the season. Or Sunday's game, I should say, kills the season if they would have lost that. Losing Thursday doesn't kill the season because it's not an AFC loss. We talked about if they go 6-1, as long as the one loss is that Cowboys game, you feel pretty good. If they go 5-2, as long as one of those 2 losses is the Cowboys game, gives you a better chance of getting into the playoffs, being 10-6, if you picked up along the way 5 more AFC wins in conference. That helps you with tiebreakers.
When that Dallas game it's scary because they can put up a lot of points. You're coming off on a short week. Guys are banged up, like you mentioned. I'm not saying the Chiefs are going to lose, but if there was a game to point to and say, oh, man, talk about coming out flat. Yeah. I mean, you're going to come out drained mentally, emotionally, and you got to find a way to rally and get this under the – because if the Chiefs win this game, you're sitting at 7-5.
Yeah.
Your playoff hopes get really good.
You're sitting at 7-5 with still Titans and Raiders on your schedule, which you can look at and say you're sitting 9-5. So go 2-1 against Texans, Chargers, Broncos, all at home. And you get to 11 wins if you win Thursday. It's a massive, massive game. And the reason you're in this position of it being a massive game is because of what you did in fourth quarter and overtime. Can you then extend that into Thursday? Then get healthy. Get your sleep. Get your rest. The Texans are playing the Colts on Sunday. Huge matchup for them. Huge matchup. They will be putting a lot of energy and everything into that game. It's massive for the Texans on Sunday. Plus, you got a half bye. You're off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're watching. It's a big, big game Thursday. If they find a way to win, it will be huge in them making the playoffs. We'll take a timeout, come back. More Zone next. All right, man, you've heard me talk about the testosterone replacement with Heartland Men's Health, and that's going on almost 2 years now, and what a difference it has made for me. You know, when I get done with the show, there is more energy when I head home to, play outside with the kids, do things around the house, do things outside, yard work, and it doesn't feel like, man, I've got to, let me take a nap, and then hopefully I can just get this done. And Heartland Men's Health has done that for me. They certainly could do that for you, but the only way you find out about what your testosterone level is to simply go and find out. You can't just guess. I think it's this. Maybe I should. No, go and find out. I went to Heartland Men's Health, and I scheduled the consult. They had the lab work done. Results, 30 minutes. For me, it was 15 minutes done. Find out what the testosterone level is. And then a licensed medical provider reviews the results with you, discuss the options, help you make the decision together with the medical team. Cost of the appointment, it's $99. That includes medical consult, T, and that PSA test. And if you sign up for testosterone treatment the day of your appointment, your visit, it's free. You could be back to having some of those higher energy levels, things that you had in your 20s and 30s, and better gains in the gym and maybe sleeping better, no more brain fog, more production at work, all of that could be a part of it. Heartland Men's Health, successfully treating men in the Kansas City area. Ask them about the peptides and how they continue to stay in the advancement and the cutting edge of men's health. 3 locations to serve you: Overland Park, Independence between Blue Springs and Lee Summit, and North Kansas City. Call them today at 844-447-6600. Tell them you heard about it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, 844-447-6600, or visit heartlandmenshealth.com. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll be joining the KU pregame coming up at 2 o'clock right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, currently going on ESPN Kansas City. KU tips off against Syracuse coming up about 2:30 or so. Last night, the game may be more interesting after the game than during the game, and that's because there was a scuffle that took place after the game was over. And Juwan Jennings was involved with Morig, this name, Morig for the Panthers. Either way, here's Kyle Shanahan explaining, hey, what was going on? Why was Juwan Jennings doing that?
The guy took a cheap shot and hit him in the balls, and I was real proud of Juwan for not losing his mind out there and getting him to the sideline.
Oh, that's why. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then the video picked that up. That's exactly what happened, as Kyle Shanahan said. So Juwan Jennings was in the locker room. He gave his, he talked there, talked to everybody. And then at the end, great advice heading into the Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, you're welcome. Y'all have a good night, man. Don't get hit in the nut. That's good advice. I don't have moral stories. Don't get hit. Watch out down there.
It's great advice, man. That's just good advice as you head into your Thanksgiving holiday. Don't get hit in the nuts. Juwan Jennings is letting people know. Be aware. Be aware down there. I like how one of the reporters was like, well, I don't have any. Then you're good.
Still doesn't feel good to get kicked there.
Then my advice ain't for you. You're not the audience that I'm sending it to. You're not the catcher from this pitch. You're not who I'm delivering it to. Total cheap shot by Trayvon Moore. By the way, he should be suspended, not Juwan Jennings. Like Juwan Jennings went up there and threw the open hand sort of slap kind of punch. But that one was literally a low blow. Jamar Chase will return to action tomorrow or Thursday. Joe Burrow returns to action with Jamar Chase. Looks like T. Higgins is not going to play. Trey Hendrickson's going to be out as well. But Jamar Chase, he didn't spit on anybody until it was found out that there was video that he did spit on people. Then he was like, oh, damn, I guess I did